Et bonjour à tous et bienvenue donc pour le Logitech G Challenge 2019. On est en direct de la Paris Games Week et aujourd'hui il y a les 8 premiers pilotes qui vont se qualifier pour le McLaren Shadow qui aura lieu fin de l'année 2018.
Welcome everyone to the Logitech G Challenge 2018 finals. 8 players qualified through online and a couple of wildcards. Some of the very best on Project Cars 2 will be here to race for the G Challenge to qualify themselves for the finals in the McLaren Experience Center straight in the UK. 8 of the very best players in there who will face each other on 3 different races. There were online qualifiers, 3 of them qualified through online, and the 5 different qualifiers were on different venues, including the Paris Game Week here for the last few days. We have 8 of the very best players who will face on 3 tracks today. The 3 tracks selected are 3 of the most known, most famous, most popular Formula 1 circuits, and that's going to be the Barcelona, Catalunya, Silverstone, and the one and only Hockenheim ring, all on the McLaren 720S today. All of these players have trained a lot for it, and only 3 races to declare who is the best player today. On fait un petit tour des règles avec toi, Kevin?
Oui, bien sûr, on va avoir donc 5 minutes de qualification sur chaque circuit et ensuite les courses dureront 10 tours. Donc les pilotes vont tout d'abord faire les 5 minutes de qualification pour pouvoir se placer sur la grille et ça restera un moment clé pour cette compétition de bien se positionner pour partir pour les courses.
En effet, and qualifiers will be before each race 5 minutes qualifications, which should give them a maximum of 3 laps to record a good time for them. But without further ado, let's just welcome our 8 players who qualified to the Logitech G Challenge Europe 2018 finals. We have 8 of the very best who will sit down on these play seats, playing on the Logitech G920 today and trying to qualify themselves to the final. First of the 8 players, Kevin, he is one of the guys that you would see at times. You would see him sometimes on Project Cars. You would see him on other games. He's part of a well-known team, TX3, which just got the World Championship on that very same game last week in Austria. He qualified Thursday after having the best time on Catalunya. TX3 Rizzo. Rizzo, who won that qualifier 2 days ago here and who got the best time yesterday as well. Best time on Silverstone, on Catalunya as well. He's here, ready to race. What are your thoughts? What do you think about Rizzo?
Ouais, il a fait donc le meilleur temps vendredi, s'est qualifié directement ici, alors que les 6 autres joueurs se sont qualifiés eux sur des qualifications online. Donc voilà, c'est un des 2 représentants français de la compétition. Donc forcément ici on va lui sauter le meilleur et en espérant le voir sur la plus haute marche du podium.
Voilà, une bonne chance pour lui. And the next player, he was the first on the online leaderboards. He's a usual threat on any sim racing game. If you follow the competition, you know this guy. He comes all the way from Spain, Miguel Ballester.
Et oui, donc Miguel Ballester qui a réalisé vraiment le meilleur temps au classement en général des qualifications online parce qu'il y avait 3 manches et c'est lui qui est en tête du classement. Donc on verra bien, c'est un des favoris et on va essayer de regarder ce qu'il va faire.
On va voir ce qu'il va faire. Miguel Ballester, definitely one of the favorites today. He's a usual threat and he's here to try and join the team, the McLaren Shadow esports team. But after him, another guy who qualified through online, and this guy was third, that F4H Murphy.
Et oui, donc Murphy, un joueur irlandais qui s'est très bien positionné aussi, qui est donc deuxième du classement après les 3 qualifications online. Donc voilà, il faut faire attention à Murphy. Et donc voilà, on va suivre. En tout cas, tous les pilotes sont vraiment des cracks sur Project Cars et ça va être de belles courses.
Ça va être de belles courses en effet. On a encore 5 candidats, 5 candidates remaining to introduce us to the race. And the next one, he comes all the way from Germany. He's another usual suspect in the scene. He qualified through the wildcard of the First Look Festival, all the way from Germany, Alexander.
Ah oui, donc Alexander Dordinden qui est donc le seul représentant allemand de cette compétition et qui est champion du monde WTCC en 2017. Donc il est présent sur différents jeux et voilà.
lots of different titles on the show for these guys on various different games. But up next we have our second Spanish representative, second on the leaderboard as well, right behind Miguel. That is TRL, Manu Rodri.
Et oui, donc Manuel Rodriguez qui est un pilote très connu sur d'autres jeux et qui était présent il y a récemment à Madrid pour une grosse compétition et il a une forte expérience sur les LAN et voilà, il faut faire attention à ce pilote parce qu'il est très agressif et en tout cas il peut tenter des dépassements très forts et comme on voit il a fini 3e au World Tour GT Sport qui a eu au Nürburgring, donc voilà, c'est un pilote à surveiller.
Un pilote à surveiller, a driver to look out for. One of the guys who will be here gunning for victory. But up next, it's our second French competitor. We are in France. On a seulement 2 joueurs français qualifiés. Qu'on fasse du bruit pour a second French competitor. He qualified yesterday for Silverstone. He's with his teammate TX3 Razor.
Et oui, Razor qui s'est qualifié hier sur la Paris Games Week, donc on va le suivre parce qu'en effet c'est les 2 représentants français, donc voilà, forcément on va leur sauter le meilleur et en plus ils représentent une équipe française, donc que du mieux.
On est obligé de le supporter, hein. Obviously Razor who will get all of the local support. We are live once again from Paris Games Week, so obviously we kind of want to see a French winning, but there is huge competition and there is huge competition from Spain. 3rd player from Spain, he qualified to the Madrid Games Week last week and he's one of the guys that you know in racing as well. He comes all the way from Spain, Christian. Christian, the winner of Seat Leon Euro Cup 2016 and 2017, 2 years in a row, a big champion who is here to just try and get the title today. But last and not least, we always save the best for last technically, so we gave him the honor. He comes all the way from England, Carboy Cam. Carboy Cam, who qualified through EGX in Birmingham in September. That was one of the main venues to qualify to for these finals. We have all of our 8 players, and what we're gonna do is let's get a little bit of their just opinions on what's gonna happen. And let's start with the French player. Je propose qu'on fasse une petite interview pour un Français. Je te laisse choisir un peu l'un de nos joueurs.
On va commencer par Wizo, hein, le premier qualifié.
Allez, fais-toi plaisir mon petit Kevin. On va parler un peu de Wizo, le qualifié de jeudi.
Bon Wizo, raconte-nous un peu cette qualification parce qu'on a vu que tu étais vraiment en confiance vendredi et que tu savais que tu allais te qualifier. Aujourd'hui, comment tu prends cette compétition et comment tu vois tes concurrents?
Oui, vendredi j'étais en confiance contre des gens qui connaissaient peut-être pas forcément le jeu. Mais là c'est parmi les meilleurs d'Europe forcément, ils sont qualifiés, ils sont pas là pour autre chose que pour gagner. Donc je vais tout faire pour, mais ça va être compliqué.
D'accord, et aujourd'hui, c'est quoi tes objectifs? Bon, forcément, je me doute que tu as envie de jouer la victoire, mais tu penses que tu vas pouvoir te rivaliser contre Miguel ou encore Manu Rodri?
Ça va être compliqué, j'aimerais bien faire un mieux de tableau, clairement. 4e, 5e, ce serait pas mal.
En tout cas, félicitations pour ta qualification. Et nous, donc, on va se retrouver avec TX3 Razor, le 2e français, pour lui poser exactement les mêmes questions qu'Anthony.
Un Wizo qui a été confiant après sa performance jeudi, mais évidemment aujourd'hui ça sera la grande compétition, à voir un peu ce que son coéquipier pense. Wizo qui vise la 4e place, qu'est-ce que ça se va donner pour Razor?
Razor, voilà, qui est le coéquipier de Wizo dans l'équipe TX3. Aujourd'hui, donc, comment tu appréhendes cette compétition? Comment tu vois les choses et penses-tu que tu vas pouvoir essayer de rivaliser ou peut-être de créer la surprise aujourd'hui tout simplement?
Faut rester réaliste quand même. On a la chance d'être ici. On n'a pas la même préparation que les autres. On va donner le meilleur de nous-mêmes comme d'habitude. On est conscient qu'il y a un gros niveau. On a la crème vraiment de Project Car là en Europe. Donc on va donner le meilleur de nous-mêmes et on va prendre surtout du plaisir.
Écoute, on te souhaite le meilleur. Forcément, tu représentes la France aussi aujourd'hui. Donc pour nous c'est important et bonne chance en tout cas.
Une bonne chance évidemment à Razor. Il est là pour essayer de récupérer sa qualification. The 2 French players who are obviously qualified through the Paris Games Week. Not the most confident, most of them that are just aiming at the mid-table, just 4th or 5th place. But let's take a look at another of the favorites. He was 3rd online. He comes all the way from Northern Ireland. Let's get some thoughts with F4H Murphy. Murphy, welcome to Paris. Hope you have a lot of fun. I've seen you training and preparing. How confident are you for today?
Just I'm confident enough, but 10 laps in this car is pretty tough. So as long as I can keep it in a straight line, hopefully get a couple of good finishes.
All right. Do you have any of the 3 tracks today? Is there anyone that you're a bit more confident in, or are you just equally a threat on all 3 of them?
Probably Catalunya and Silverstone would be stronger for me. So Hockenheim Sector 3 is a wee bit tough. So we'll see what happens.
Let's see what happens. Indeed, that's gonna be a full day of competition for these guys. We're gonna go for qualifiers as well as races all day today on twitch.tv/Logitech G. It's gonna be an extremely fun day with all 8 of these players. They're gonna just be ready, get on their seats. Just all of them gonna be preparing their game for Project Cars 2 today. It's McLaren 7020S for absolutely everyone, and we will see which one of them is gonna be the best. We will take a quick break, and then we'll be back with our 2 casters, Actual Vision and Sailokist. See you after the break.
Welcome back to the Logitech G Challenge, live from Paris Games Week. Of course, we're standing by, getting ready to get into what is essentially a McLaren Shadow qualifying project to go through to the semi-final. 8 drivers from across a plethora of different games, sitting in Logitech play seat chairs on a stage in front of a crowd. 3 races to prove their worth.
Absolutely. You know, these are 8 of the very best, not just on Project Cars 2. The prize of the McLaren Shadow potential contract here has attracted players from all sorts of games at the very, very top level. Very excited to be
Absolutely. Yeah, and there is. I mean, they said it. They broke it down well on stage. Sure, you've got Vizot here, who's the world champion currently within Project Cars 2, but you also have Miguel Ballista, who was a part of the world's fastest gamer last year. He's been on R-Factor qualifiers, he's been on GT Sport qualifiers, he's been on every single sim rig, and he's super quick in all of them. Likewise, you've got Manuel Rodriguez, who's here with Team Redline, winner of a GT Sport contest in Barcelona in February. Same thing. Every sim this guy sits in, he's dead accurate with the lines.
We've also got Veloce Dorniden, very much the same. Race Room, Project Cars 2, dabbled in GT Sport, a bit of F1 esports as well. So he's come across to Project Cars 2 recently, qualified last week for the A1 esports Season 2 final, and did really, really well there. Got into a top 4 position, so he's someone to really look out for today.
Talk a little bit about the car, because they're in the 720S. Obviously, it's a McLaren Shadow sim contest. You're going to be in a McLaren, but it's a street car. It's not a GT3. It's not the 650S with downforce, with slicks. It's on street tires. We got 3 tracks that are notable GP circuits, but tires are going to fall off. The suspension's going to be softer. It's going to be about finesse, isn't it?
Yeah, for the most part, esports series are generally on race cars or race trim. These guys are really outside of their comfort zone now. Like you said, it's going to be on road tires. It's a road car. The car doesn't react like a normal race car. There's no real balance to it. You've got to use the weight transfer to your advantage here, and it's going to be survival of the fittest for me personally. The person who's put the most practice in at home. I would say that the qualifiers from this event would have a real advantage here.
Absolutely, and those qualifiers are the T4X drivers, if I'm not mistaken, or T3X, excuse me.
Razor, yeah, of course, and Vizot.
And Vizot, and as you say, comes off of the win last week in Austria.
Home soil as well.
That does help. We're obviously in a rather large convention. There's lots going on. We got PUBG, Counter-Strike. Pretty much every single game is here. Twitch representation, even though the TwitchCon's going on.
Yeah,
I mean, this is a hub for esports right now, and sim racing is on the same stage as that. So you're right. The home court, home crowd, whatever you want to call it. I won't call it home track because it's not quite that, but it does play a bit of a factor. There's certainly going to be less. Look, Europe's pretty central. All these guys are within Europe. It's not like the travel's massive for them.
No, of course.
But there's going to be well-rested and comfortable within the climate. So it does have an effect in more than just having the fanfare behind you. But it's a difficult, I think, challenge to do. I think it was already Murphy that said it on stage, to do upwards of 10 laps in these 720s and try and keep the car consistent throughout. And I think that's one of the challenges for this, is not just the skill over one lap, not just that qualifying pace, not just the online qualifying pace. It's racecraft. That's what we get to see now.
Yeah, could not agree with you more there. But what about the added pressure of probably arguably the most famous sim racer out there, now new to McLaren in Formula One? Lando Norris is here as well. And
I thought you were going to say Rudy Van Buren as the most famous sim driver. Fair play.
Well, yeah, Team Redline, now in a Formula One car, but of course Rudy Van Buren as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rudy is a prime example of where sim racing is going and what you can achieve. And I think that's one of the beautiful things with sim racing is, obviously I come from a different background in esports.
Course, yeah.
I come from mostly Counter-Strike, a little bit of PUBG. You can talk about those being sort of it seems weird to say, like the traditional esports, if you will.
Of course.
The removed from reality, the pseudo-reality that exists within them. And then you've got FIFA, which is based on a real sport. You've got NHL getting into some stuff. But sim racing is the only one that has direct applications to its real-life example, its real-life model. And I think that it's a beautiful thing that you can discover talent that may not have had an opportunity otherwise and put them in real cars, as was shown with the GT Academy, as was shown with World's Fastest Gamer. Aurelien Mallet, another French driver, comes over from Forza at times. He's super quick. I did a karting event with him, and he smoked me by about a second each lap. So.
I did the Dirt 4 World Championships, and the prize there was to race in an RX2, which is, 1600 Ford Fiesta, I believe it was, and they are lightning. So some guy's just been sat in his bedroom or in his living room, maybe in his garage, and all of a sudden he's then racing in a real car around a real rallycross track. So there's big opportunities for these guys, none bigger than representing McLaren at the top esports level.
Absolutely, and it's very cool that McLaren Shadow has its own project, not just within the F1 esports realm, because obviously a lot of the teams are doing F1 esports, all with the exception of Ferrari, which I'm sure will come around eventually when they see the success of it. But the point being that a lot of those teams are focusing on only that. McLaren has been so forward-thinking throughout this whole process, and I think having Van Buren on board is proof of that, but also a guy like Lando, who's an advocate for sim racing, likes to stream himself.
He's now, like, I would say, the 20 best drivers in in the world are driving in Formula One.
Yeah.
You know, it's arguable, of course.
Yep.
But he
Yeah,
is
there's
very
always
well
some-
known
yeah.
for streaming on Twitch. You know, with the likes of iRacing, with the likes of Project Cars. And now he's the benchmark for these guys. If they really want to make it in real life racing, then
Absolutely.
that is the opportunity. But on the flip side, some guys are motivated by representing just the esports. So this is what McLaren Shadow are offering here.
And that's kind of where I was going with it. I think the McLaren, it's really nice to see them supporting the entire esports scene, and I think that their mentality is very forward thinking. And Logitech obviously coming in to support that and being super involved in every esport and pretty much everything. I mean, Logitech and esports go hand in hand with their products, as is the case here. Everyone's on the G29, strapped into the play seats. Not quite strapped in. There's not really a harness, to be fair. Might be nice if there was. See if their
Whatever tickles your
evacuation
fancy,
process.
I guess.
Let's get some enduro belts on them, strap them down, get a Hans device. We'll go all out. It's really good to see, and it's nice to see that it hitting this level. I'm going to switch a little bit because we're going to get into qualifying. 3 tracks, they mentioned it, all very technical tracks as
Very
well,
technical.
with a good mix of speed, plus some tight corners where mechanical grip and throttle application does apply. Now, they do have ABS, they do have traction control, as the real car would have. Personally,
That's if they choose. That's if they choose.
In real life, personally, I'd shut those off and hoon it out because that's me.
100% these guys will be in the same boat here. A road car, if you've played Project Cars 2, it's very tough to control these road cars, but if you can take all of the assist off, you get a lot more feel for the car, and you get a lot more reward as well. When you absolutely nail it, and it's all your own control, which is always what you're aiming for.
And just to note as well, it is a street car, so there isn't a lot you can do in real life, so the setup is standard for all of them, which is perfect because now we see raw skill go at it rather than technical ability. Some people are brilliant with setup and others aren't, so we kind of level the playing field in that regard. But we get 3 technical tracks, and we start on Circuit de Catalunya, which is, in my opinion, I'll say it, I might come up. It's not my favorite F1 racetrack, but for testing, there's a reason it's so good, and it's because, and it's why it's going to be great today.
Everything.
Exactly. It shows high speed, it shows discipline, it shows braking points. The chicane in the last section, I wasn't a fan when they added it, but it's very technical. You've got to be dead accurate through there.
And also you're going downhill into it as well, which makes it even more tough.
Understeer, overloading tires, absolutely. Weight transfer, and we talked about that as well in the street car. It's going to be a factor. But I think it's a perfect example to showcase the skill.
Yeah, for sure. You know, you've got the big long straight, which is going to be used or utilized for the slipstream. We're going to see a lot of action into turn number 1, I believe. And if they can get the run out of turn 2 and 3 around the really, really long-winded right-hander up towards turn number 4, they can get themselves really in amongst the lead group here.
As the tires fall off, the lap times will decrease, which does bring in the penalty system. You know Project Cars inside out, so I'm not going to attempt to try and get it right and get it wrong. I'm going to let you explain sort of the track limits, how that will be addressed, because I think turn 3 is somewhere where you could see people slowly drifting out to that AstroTurf.
Well, yeah, so, you know, you guys will watch, you know, Formula One or other motorsports at home, and, you know, if a car leaves the track, all 4 wheels across the white lines are kind of I guess a guide. It's really a law within racing, but sometimes it's bent.
I tend to
Max
take that liberty.
You can push the boundaries, but within this game, if all 4 wheels do go over the white line, then they will incur a slowdown penalty. If they do not slow down, then there'll be a time added to their end time at the end of the race. So you'll see on screen for us, there'll be like a red mark next to their name if they do have a penalty, and we can figure that out as we go along.
And there's ways around that, if you will. They're not really around it. It takes the based on your delta for the lap, and you have to be under a certain amount of time. And it's not like you have to get fully, a lot of people seem to think when they do sim racing online, they have to be fully off the throttle, slow rate. You can do it and eke it out over the course of the lap. But I think there's an allocation as well. And
it's only within a couple of corners within this game, so you have to do it really quickly. But on the flip side, how respectful are you going to be with your, you know, if you've got someone right behind you,
but you can't
do it on the race.
Right? Exactly.
You don't want to do it on the race line. You know, you don't want to be that guy that causes an accident. So.
Well, we do have qualifying. This was something that was changed. Originally, they were going to do it based on lap times and morning warm-up. Now we get a 5-minute qualifying. 5 minutes at Barcelona is an out lap, 2 hot laps, maybe a third, because in Project Cars you can continue your final lap if the clock counts down to 0, so long as you've crossed the finish line.
Yeah, absolutely. So these guys, for me, it's only going to be 2 laps, but this really is, I love the shootout format we've got here. 5 minutes where, you know, they've got to warm their tyres up in 1 lap, and then they've got to absolutely nail it on their 2nd or 3rd attempt. And we could see some really big boys here make big mistakes and find themselves right at the back of the order.
So they'll all head on track, 5 minutes as well with everyone out there. There is only 8 cars. I say only 8 in the race. It's going to seem very busy with the competitive level of these drivers and how close their times really are. But in qualifying, they need to be sure to space it out a little bit. Be respectful, give each other room. And it's not even about giving each other room. It's about giving yourself room. You would hate to be behind someone who makes a mistake and suddenly arrives on your racing line and compromises your lap as well. So as much as there's a limited time window that they need to be on the track and get as many laps in, they've got to be sensible about their positioning on track.
Yeah, but in all fairness, though, if you could use the car in front of you as well, we've got 2 where you would see the DRS zones in Formula 1. We've got the first straight across the start-finish line, and then coming up towards the 3rd sector, we also have a big, long straight there as well. You could gain some time in qualification by slipstreaming the car in front of you, but it's high risk, high reward, obviously. If they do make a mistake, your lap's screwed as well.
So Razor, take a peek on board with him as they come out. This is the end of the outlap, so timed flying laps will start. Yeah, that, in my opinion as well. Now, there might be, you could argue, a negligible drafting effect with these street cars in the 720S. Maybe, but truthfully, maybe it helps. You want it at the end of the lap, not the start of the lap, because as you say, if a mistake's made here, Razor's going to be compromised by the driver directly in front. So
well, yeah, there's so many different factors here, because of course you would like slipstream to go quicker down the straight, but when you go into turn number 1, these cars are so unstable as it is, without having that dirty air, without having the downforce completely ruined on the front of your car.
Well, we'll see how the finesse works out in that regard, because it really is going to be a patience, discipline driving style that gets rewarded in these 720Ss. You can't be mashing the throttle, even with that traction control. It's the suspension and weight transfer that's going to catch a lot of these guys out. They've really got to, especially understeer, right? You don't have the slick, you don't have the downforce, you really got to nurse that car in to be smooth as ever to get back on the throttle.
This car is, for me, the hardest car in the game. Not only do they have understeer going into the corners, they will have understeer going into the corners. The oversteer is a huge factor coming out. So they have both kinds of steer, which, you know, there's drivers out there who are, you know, oversteer drivers or understeer drivers. These guys have got to deal with both of them right now. Again, with the toughest car, but you say weight transfer. These guys could use that to their advantage as well.
Sure, absolutely.
Help turn that car in.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and there is ways in which you can trail brake and do all of that. I also want to point out how cool that wing is on the 720S. Like, I don't know if you're listening, McLaren, but if you just want to like throw me one of those as a, you know, a daily driver, I wouldn't complain. That car is so sexy, and that active wing is so cool to me.
You wouldn't turn it down, would you? There's no way you'd turn that down.
There's definitely other things that I would turn down, but that's not one of them.
Do you know what the car's based on? What they designed it after?
Tell me.
A great white shark.
Really?
Yeah, so it's the sleek formation through the water, but it's a predator at heart. So that's what the design was all about.
Whoa. You can see that, certainly in a high-speed corner, the lack of the downforce, but that oversteer mid-corner from Razor as he tries to control it. And Rudy's going to try and work his way around. Time lapse coming in, so our benchmark so far, a 1:47.7. You are more familiar with this track than I. That's certainly faster than I am already.
Already the gap. That is so small.
But what is 47.7 where you expect this to land, especially with 5 minutes? Where are you happy at this point?
Well, these guys are only going to have one more lap now. I'm expecting them to maybe find half a second here, maybe potentially in the 46s, but then these tyres go off so quickly that might have been their maximum in that lap. But you can just tell by how close the times are. You can see here we've got Christian Kwiatkowski in 3rd position. He's only a 10th off of pole position here of TX3 Razor. So it's super close.
And just to note as well, TX3 Razor, you talked about it, home field advantage, and he's one of the players that qualified through the wild card. So this booth has been set up for a few days. The public was welcomed to try and make their way into this competition. That is some oversteer. I didn't catch who that was.
Oh, well, that's qualifying over for him.
Absolutely.
That is done. He's on pole position here provisionally, but that is qualifying done. And I think Dornington here has just invalidated his lap time there by cutting the really fast chicane. So it looks like Razor and Dornington are done. So we've got Christian Kwiatkowski in 3rd spot right now. He's going to be looking here to potentially get onto that front row of the grid, take advantage of the mistakes here. Vivo currently in 4th position, 4 tenths off the pace, 6 tenths covering the top 5 right now, because we've got Carboy Cam, who is actually, he works for Haas, which is a hell of a job to have, to fair play to him. Then we've got Manu Rodri in 6th. One of my favourites, I would say, for this is he's number 3 in the world on GT Sport. He's got some pedigree. So yeah, we then of course got Ballesta, who Miguel Ballesta, everyone knows him from multiple games. He's just got such talent. And then right at the back is Murphy. Murphy's not put a time in. He's in the pits, it's qualifying over, and that is what shootout qualifying does.
And it's so much pressure. I mean, you talk about at the front, you've got 5/100ths of a second between first and second. But at the backside of it, you've got mistakes that have been shown. 3 seconds off the pace is Ballista. He'll try and hammer in a lap, but you're right, Murphy's not going to get one across the line.
No.
Cam just barely finishes it out, but we've got a change in the lead.
147.417, and he's just said to Razor, I'm here to party, baby. I want this seat. I want this opportunity, and he's going to take a pole position. Is Dorneyden still on a lap? Kwiatkowski, I don't know if he's still on a lap or Vivo, but it looks like qualifying is over, and he does take the spoils here. And he's done it right at the death where no one could respond.
And you said it, he's one of your favorites, comes in with Team Redline pedigree. He's been around every single game, and he shows it here at the last second. 147.4 puts him 3/10 or thereabout, clear of second place.
Under half a second separating the top four here, and just shows that these guys are on the top level right now, and not quite the 46 we expected though.
Ballesta did get a time in toward the end that was an improvement. He was 3 seconds off the pace originally. He ends 1 second off in total, but 1 second separates the front 7. Unfortunately for Murphy, didn't get a time in, so we'll see if he can address that. Take note, by the way, if you're watching at home, of the colors now. They will not change. Manruti will be orange, white will be Razor, etc. So keep those in your mind.
Why has Murphy not gone for green? Northern Ireland, you just assume he'd gone for the green?
Maybe it wasn't his choice.
Maybe it wasn't.
They could have been assigned. I would have taken bright pink if it was my choice.
Absolutely.
What would you take?
A bright pink? Yeah, for sure.
You've got the pink shirt. Yeah. I didn't know we were
It's all
coming
about
back
the
on
pink
camera.
for me. It's always about the pink for me.
It's I think that they call that a light tuna or a salmon.
I like to call it coral sunset or sunset coral.
Coral sunset.
Or sunset
Sounds romantic.
coral. One or the other.
I'm going to leave the shirts to you. Look, we've got qualifying done. We've seen already the pressure. We've seen already the mistakes that can happen, especially
Absolutely.
when there's only 5 minutes and you've got so much pressure to nail that lap. But now the race. And in your opinion, with a shorter race, which we're going to get into immediately, and a grid as tight as this, is there still a chance for a guy like Murphy as these tires
Absolutely.
fall off?
These guys are the best of the best. Any one of these 8 can still win this race. He's under a lot of pressure, but he has every opportunity to smash it. Here we go then, guys. It is race 1 here at Catalonia GP. We're on board here with Vizo. Be nice to see the whole grid formation here.
When the lights go green, we get mean, and they're off now. Straight start. Vizo, the champion, world champion at that, is going to try and take the lead down in, or rather get around it. Is man, Rodri's all over it. There's a problem. He's bogged down off the start. That gives the run to Razor. He's got the outside into turn 1. In fact, man, Rodri early on the brakes is going to make contact. Vizo's toe close, but that's massive. That's a huge dive bomb.
Dorneyden's gone up the inside here. He's up to second position here. Razor holding on. And actually, Kwiatkowski moves up to third position. And Murphy's in fifth. So Murphy's got a great start here.
Keep it clean.
Kept out of trouble.
Absolutely. Keep it clean. Let the boys trip over themselves and get back into it. But the front 3 are off and running. Defensive already into the Repsol turn 4. Hard right-hander that leads downhill. And he had to get offline. So already he's thinking about defense. Great throttle control from Christian Kwiatkowski as he gets hard onto the tight left. Turn 5. And he's got to get on the power early. Undercut not possible.
That's a
Corner's a little bit too
move.
sharp.
Unbelievable move there. But in that move there, when you're this close with these kind of cars, you're going to lose so much time to the leader. You can see that Razor now is half a second, which is quite a considerable margin.
At the
here.
same time, though, those guys battling will bring in fourth and further back into the fold because they obviously had contact off the start.
Of course.
Bit of a dive bomb. I think it was Vizo that ended up getting hit.
Well, Manny Rodriguez found himself down in 8th position. He was pole.
Unbelievable that he's fallen off that fast. He's back up to 4th.
Murphy in 4th. From the back of the grid,
right.
That's a sensational start from him. And that will settle his nerves as well. He's just done qualification where he's not able to get a lap time and he's going to be like pressurized. Oh no, what am I going to do in the race?
Yeah, but at the same time,
penalties.
you could flip that around and say, hey, if I'm on pole, I'm expected to finish up here, right? There's that opposite pressure. He's got nothing to lose but to just go for it. And in the first 3 laps, this is when the pace will be high. After that, they're going to have to nurse and hold for track position. So Razor with a good lead, you mentioned it, opens that up now to 7/10.
Yeah, it's a big gap here. Lap 1. It's a long race. There's a lot of time here, and there's potential mistakes as the tyres do go off. But Razor, he's in a great spot right now. Although looks like he may have had to do a slowdown there on the exit of the final corner. So he's lost 3/10 in that straight line. Although slipstream may work really strongly here from quite far back.
Absolutely, and just to note as well, weather settings, every track will be sunny. Dynamic weather in this game is fantastic in Project Cars 2, but it's not going to be a factor here. They want this to be as level as possible.
Nice
he did look to be very wide on the exit. I don't think he was full 4 off, so it might have been earlier in the lap. The chicane's another aspect where in which team people can't get caught for cutting.
That's the worst place, though, to make a mistake
man.
and not be on the power early. With a long straight behind you, put yourself under so much pressure. We're looking here, and I think the Ballesta here is with Vivo. Dorniden now closing in on the front 2 here. Obviously, he was in second position. Christian Kwiatkowski has taken his opportunity here, and he's running with it because he's now closing in on TX3 Razor. And, well, Christian Kwiatkowski wasn't anyone's favourite here, but he's looking very strong indeed.
Carboy Cam sits down in 8th. Questionable start from him. I think it was him that dove up the inside and made contact, trying to avoid everyone else who stood on the brakes in front of him. But Razor holds the lead again, looks to be opening it back up, whether there was a slowdown or otherwise. The front 3 at this point, not really battling and don't need to. Save it for the end. If they squabble too soon, that's big time. That's all 4 wheels off. Surely he's got to slow down from that.
Slowdown penalty for sure. We see Manu Rodri here, obviously qualified in pole position, found himself in 8th spot, back up to 5th here. He is looking absolutely golden, and now he's showing his true pace.
And this is make or break through the chicane. Hold it, you mentioned it, downhill as well. Certainly be over top of the front wheels, if not for the fact that you also have to watch the curbs. That was close. That's 4 wheels off over the sausage.
Yeah.
He may get hit for that.
I think Manu Rodri will be hit for that. We're looking in the background there, and you can see here that Murphy's got loads of oversteer out the final corner there. That was not him trying to break the slipstream. He's just got loads of oversteer. You see Manu Rodri is closing in though in 5th position. The front 2 are pretty close here as well. 4 tenths though, so Kwiatkowski is looking pretty good.
And it's all to play for, even if you're not.
There's a slowdown penalty.
Absolutely.
Manu Rodri got the slowdown.
And I thought he might, because he was definitely 4 wheels off on that sausage curb. And that's, again, another point where it's so tempting. So tempting, especially in these cars, because you want to get that front end in as fast as you can, but it's a fine line between perfection when it's in terms of where that white line is, in terms of that chicane and getting on the power to get the momentum all the way down the straightaway. So he has that slowdown, you're right, in 5th. That's going to give Murphy some room to breathe.
Wow.
Car control at its finest from Enrudri as he slides it out, and he does it again. Why not? For good measure.
What I find interesting is the fact that he's decided not to take the penalty, so clearly it's quicker to just carry on, take it on the chin and move forward. And keep the slipstream as well.
Absolutely, he doesn't want to give up the gap. He wants to keep the pressure on Murphy. One of the things that I was going to get to mention is consistency, because even if Razor runs away with this, even if, and to be fair, he's not. He's got Kwiatkowski all over the back of him at this point in time. But it's a point-space system over 3 races. So yes, consistency is key, but it's 15, 12, and down. It's basically the same as Formula One.
Yeah.
With 8 drivers, it takes out the 25, 18 at the top. Exactly. So it's very close point structure, and a finish is important. Even if you're not on for the win, every position is going to matter over the course of the 3 races. Remember, we've got Silverstone and Hockenheim coming up immediately after this. Circuit de Catalunya to start us off.
Well, it looks like here that we've had Manu Rodri make another mistake here, and Vivo's now closing in. And it looks like to me that Manu Rodri is very good on the exit of corners, but he's braking very early indeed. We saw that at turn number 1. He got swamped by 4 drivers, and he's doing exactly the same there out of the final corner.
And I can understand the need. Again, you want to talk about weight transfer. If you're too hard and too late on the brakes, you are going to push a lot of that weight forward and induce understeer. It becomes, now look, these guys are good enough, they'll be able to flick it in and control that. But at the same time, with momentum, you brake early, you let the car in lightly. It really does showcase different driving styles, and that's something that these guys would have had to learn. We saw that contact off the start, where in which Enrudri was hard on the brakes, got contact from behind. I think it was it Razor that got up the back of him? Maybe it was Cargo. I can't either way.
Razor got back into the lead. He started in 2nd spot.
That's right.
Yeah.
Either way, there was the contact, and they're going to have to learn each other's driving style in these respective cars, because that's how you're going to read. This is for the lead.
Mistake by Razor. Kwiatkowski up the inside. Razor closes him off really well in the end, but he put himself into some serious trouble there.
Absolutely. Got hard on the brakes. He almost outbraked himself, so the pressure's starting to mount on for the lead as Kwiatkowski continues it on through the high-speed chicane. It's on for the braking point in turn 14. Keep that in mind.
Slipstream time, though, coming down towards the final sector here. Is Christian Kwiatkowski going to have a go down in towards the final sector here? It's got a big long straight. We're on board here with Dorniden, who's in behind the front 2 now, and he's not going to be quite close enough here. But actually, Dorniden's closed in here,
but he's
and all of a sudden we're going to see a potential 3-way battle for the big 15 points here.
Dorniden may have thrown away an opportunity because he outbraked himself slightly, gets a lot of curbs, so he's got to be careful, but he is still closing the gap. No question about that.
I think he saved his tyres. I think he's taken his foot off the gas for a couple of laps, and now he's going to attack them. And if he doesn't get the move done now, he'll probably do exactly the same again, drop a couple of seconds, and then really attack, because apparently if you can get the tyres within range, it's worth 2 seconds plus.
He'll be licking his lips watching watching this battle in front of him as well, because any mistake from the two of them and he's all over it. Absolutely.
Oh, Emmanuel Rodri then has been overtaken here by Vivo by the looks of things, but now he's got that slipstream, and it's the exit corners that Emmanuel Rodri is really good at, and you can see here already closing in before they're in high gears. Going to be a very, very easy overtake down towards turn number 1. Very good work indeed, but we've got to look at the leaders here. Kwiatkowski and Razor are 4/10 between the two. They're so close.
And it is all the way down. Rodri, as you mentioned, clearly has fallen back from the lead. He's pushed himself deep. It's a lot about braking. You can see it at the front. That gap opens back up to a half a second. But meanwhile, we watch the battle for 5th place on track. Remember that slowdown penalty still applies to Rodri. But this is all about position. And there's so much pressure mounting all the way down into Repsol. Meanwhile, back up front, that gap has opened up ever so slightly. Still watching as Valache just holding his nerve at this point in time. You're right. Tires are going to be a factor as we get toward the end of this race. Lap 5 of 10. We're still only halfway in as the nose is shown under braking. Not really an overtaking opportunity
close
into the high-speed chicane, but he certainly wants to show 2 things. One is he can sell a dummy, force, as we've already seen, Razor to get deep on the brakes, outbrake himself and make a mistake. And 2, he wants to get his elbows out and say, hey, we're racing. I'm not giving you anything in the lead.
Absolutely, it's
and it's changed. He's got it. He's got him out of the top.
He has got it. But what's going to happen here is Kwiatkowski and Razor are both going to burn their tyres out here. Valache Dorniden looks like my favourite from this position. Just needs to keep it clean. He's got 5 laps here to just gradually bring the gap in. But later in this race, he's really going to come to fruition.
Dorniden is certainly trying to hold it. Meanwhile, well back, it's actually Rodri who's fallen all the way. So our pole sitter, with a blistering qualifying time that dipped low into the 47s, now finds himself in last place. This will be a race to forget for the Team Redline driver. Meanwhile, back in the front straight, it has opened up again, but it's going to be a game of nip and tuck the whole time through for these racers. Razor still holds the lead. As we take a look. Oh, I take it back. Sorry, yes, you're right. Razor's back in 2nd place. He is just in front with about a second to spare, with Murphy also closing the gap. That gap was 5 seconds from 3rd to 4th previously, so he's brought that down to 2 seconds now that he's been released, if you will, from Rodri, who was putting pressure onto him.
Well, if Dorniden catch up to the front 2, they start battling. Murphy comes into play, and it could be one of the greatest comebacks in esports history of Podcast 2. It'd be a fantastic result.
I mean, our pole sitter goes to 8th, and our 8th place starter potentially goes to 1st. That would be a pretty unbelievable start to this event.
Like Murphy right now, if you'd offered him 4th position with the quality of driver here at the start of this race, obviously not qualifying, not putting that lap in, he would have snapped your hand off. But he's performing really well here. Carboy Cam here having a bit of a struggle. He's got Emmanuel Rodri in behind him, but ahead of these guys, we've got Balesta and Vivo for Team TX3. They are very close indeed. Little nibble up the inside there by it looks like by Balesta. Yes, Balesta here really is putting the pressure on, but they're just a little bit off the pace. You can see the front 4 have made a nice little cushion here, and you know, moving forward, a top 4 in your first race is really going to give you confidence moving forward.
Confidence is key. It's Miguel Balesta trying to get on the inside. He sold the dummy outside, inside, not quite has a nose in, but he's relying on the brakes to go wide. He's got to get out of that. Certainly contact would have been on him at that point, but another great battle, bit of oversteer, which puts just in front Vizo a little wide, and he goes early on the right-hander. That's going to put him late on the outside. He might be able to sip it up, but he can't quite get on the throttle fast enough.
So you've got Dorniden here, still in behind these guys. Murphy is closing in. We're going to look at the lap times here. You can see the lap times all slowly going into the 50s here. So they're 3 seconds slower than qualifying. We've got a 50.2, a 50.3, a 50.9, and Murphy is a 50.3. So Murphy's lapping as quick as the front 2. Dorniden is the one struggling here. But you can see the lap times are getting slower and slower and slower. So it's all about tyre conservation now, the tyre temperatures. If they can get them in range now, near the end of this race, one of those top 4, any one of those could win this race.
Yeah, the top 4 is certainly on for a bit of a gap down after that. So Wout Vizo, he's still got a good 5th place on the cards. Again, points are going to matter, but this battle at the front, although it looks spaced out, don't be misled, because that will be closing up as teams, as you say, teams and drivers, I should say, trying to nurse those tires. Bit of a battle further back. Still Balesta trying to sell one up the inside, but he's being patient. Good racecraft. Gets a little deep because he's forced off the line. He's a little tight on entry, but he can still get down the hill. And all he wants at this point is to continue selling his nose, to continue selling that braking.
You got to love that rear wing, right? You get right up behind someone and it's like, nope. Yeah. You are not coming through. It's like a big stop sign saying, no, you're no chance at all here. But I tell you what, Kwiatkowski, putting that pressure on Razor early in this race has paid off dividends here because he's now extending his lead. He's a 10th quicker on the previous lap, but he's got that 1.1 second lead, which I would say takes him just outside of the slipstream zone here, so he can pull away. And again, you can see that Murphy is closing in half a second this lap. It was 3.8, and now it's down to about 3.5. So, or 3.3, so he's the one to look out for here. We've got ourselves 3 laps. If he's looked after his tyres, he is in absolute business.
Lap 7 about to be in the books, which puts us on for the final 3. 8, 9, and 10 as they come back through the chicane once more, on board with Murphy, who continues to try and hunt down the front 3, continues to close that gap, nursing the throttle through the final corner. We've seen him already have a massive lick of oversteer there before.
Very good time by Kwiatkowski, back down to the 50 flat, 50.1, raise the response.
His consistency over the last 4 laps has been excellent.
49.7 by Murphy. Holy bananas, that is a hell of a time at this stage of the race.
Absolutely, and I was going to point out, yeah, here we go, best lap. I was going to say 47.9 for Kwiatkowski 2 laps ago. Lap 8 was indeed the fastest, but there's a list of all the fastest. Overall, Murphy's up there now with that lap time. I don't think that's updated for him.
Well, you can see the difference in times there, you know, from best lap to last lap, 3 seconds. It's a huge margin, so any one of these guys have looked after their tyres, they're in a really great spot.
And that is the wager, right? Some of these guys might be going hell-bent for leather for 1 lap, but they'll wear out the rubber, and then suddenly they don't have the consistency. So it's a bit of a tortoise in the hare aspect to it, certainly. But there is some significant gaps on circuit as well. So
Razor's back involved here. Kwiatkowski under a lot of pressure here, 0.2 of a second. And Razor, I think, may have just done exactly what I said, just dropped off the pace a little bit, and now he's going to re-attack. We know he's got the pace here to be, well, he qualified 2nd, of course. He's got the pace to be right at the sharp end. Has he got the race pace here late in this race? Has he saved it right to the last moment?
And they know that they can start to attack with 2 laps. They've got a little bit of a gap.
Nothing
that
to lose
will
now.
hold.
Nothing to lose now. They've got 11 seconds on anyone outside the top 4. They've got about 8 seconds here. So it's, you know, worthwhile for these to really push it.
Ballista still trying to battle further back, wants that 5th place from Vizot in front, but it's the battle for the lead that is really heating up. It's back to 9/10, so a slight mistake presumably from Razor coming out of the final corner.
Through the slower section here, so the Costatina effect is going to happen. They will close down as they get towards the straight, that is for sure. You can see it's around about 8/10 here. Dorneyden is under some pressure here now from Murphy. Murphy a little bit slower on this lap, but so was Dorneyden. That's the key here. So Kwiatkowski and Razor looking pretty good for a 1-2, but it's all about whether Dorneyden can hold on to this podium for the first race.
He's been sitting there biding his time as we look back. Poor man Rudry, who's all the way back to a lowly 8th place, and he was indeed our pole sitter, so it's been a problem for them. Lap times dead even between Kwiatkowski at the front. 150.13 and a 133 for Razor, 0.133, so 3 1,000ths of a second between them on the last lap, and I would argue that's at different ends of the circuit. Razor looks faster through Sector 1 and 2, but it got away from him in Sector 3, so that's actually shaping up to be a good race. If it was the same everywhere, that's one thing. To be that close with 2 different styles and 2 different ends of the circuit means this is an absolute battle that amounts to pressure, and it's certainly, at this point, if it was me, I'd want to be in Razor's position.
Well, I guess we'll find out now. So we're coming through the 2nd sector now, and we'll see him, you can see closing up there, but in the final sector, like you said, looks like Kwiatkowski is a lot quicker, and we'll see that maybe extended to 1.5 seconds at the end of this lap. Only 1.5 laps to go here. Kwiatkowski has kind of come out of nowhere here and is starting to really put the pressure on and get that big 15 points. That'd be a hell of an accolade for him to come here, no expectations on him whatsoever, and smash it to pieces straight off the bat.
The battle of the race, despite that the lead, the important position, might actually just go to Vizot and Ballesta, because this has been ongoing lap after lap, and full credit to Ballesta, who's been more than fair in his positioning, doesn't want to take any risks, certainly doesn't want to cause contact between the 2 of them, but he's got the run now. The hard part is it's into the chicane, which means where do you get to send it? Quick braking and a tap to park the bus in front forces him to get off the power, forces him off the line, so the opportunity not quite there yet, but he's forced him offline defensively, which may amount to a run onto the straight. Meanwhile, back up front, 3rd place.
Whoa!
That's a massive amount of oversteer. And
moment.
it's Felice that's going to now be offline. This brings Murphy closer yet again as we head on to lap number 10.
you say, you know, it's almost easy to look at the positions of 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th and go, oh, it's kind of, you know, rubbish it off. They're not going to have a chance. We've got 2 more races here. Every point counts moving forward in this championship. These guys are all good enough to win races, but they need to survive. When they're in a position of 7th, 8th, you know, they need to look for 6th or they need to look for 5th position. They've got to survive, get as many points as possible, and then next time really hit it as hard as they can, get those big points to push towards that championship or, you know, that McLaren Shadow prize.
The gap from first in points to last is 15-1. So Ballesta will have, Ranrudy will have an uphill battle. Meanwhile, Ballesta still certainly hounding for 5th. But this is the final lap, and we are getting near the end of it. The battle at the front seems to have stayed pretty level. The gap 1 second still. Keviniewski should be able to hold on for the win, but meanwhile, Ballesta still desperately wants to get back up 1 position. That 1 position from the difference between 6th and 5th is the difference between 6 points and 4 points. And over 3 quick races, over a championship, that's significant. All over him as he gets the run, finally into the top. Right-hander, tons of speed required. He's forced him off the line. This might give him a chance in the draft. Breaking point into the left-hander coming up underneath the Monster Energy sign is going to be instrumental, crucial in fact, and we can already see Vizot going defensive. We'll come back to that battle because at the front, the lead and perhaps the win going to go to Keviniewski.
Under pressure. I think Dorneyden's under pressure here for 3rd position. If we can look at Murphy and Dorneyden here, that could be the fight here. It looks like Keviniewski is going to pick up the win here. There we go, Murphy all over the back here of Dorneyden. Is he going to be able to get any sort of move done here? Put the pressure on, you know, out the final corner.
I don't know that that's quite on. It might have been a little bit too much curve, but he's giving everything. He's giving it the beans.
Well, there you go. Kwiatkowski does pick up the victory here with Razor for TX3 in second, and Dorneyden rounding out our podium then. So great work by those 3 drivers.
And Murphy did get hit with the time penalty, but it shouldn't affect him. He's got enough of a gap now that Vizot should still hold on to 5th place. Now, I say that, should still hold on. Ballesta's all over him, and it crossed the line.
Wow.
It was side by side, but Vizot held it. The official timing has Vizot in front. Ballesta, he gave it everything, and hey, credit to them. That might have been the most entertaining battle throughout.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, there's loads of stories in this race here, but, you know, we didn't expect Manu Rodri right in 8th position.
And missing the front bumper as well. Yeah, so some damage for him. Not the race he would have wanted as he finishes a lowly 34 seconds off the front and quite a significant gap. I won't quite do the math. I think it's something like 16 seconds off the player in front of him. Now, the interesting thing about that is you have to look at the mental aspect. Started on pole, had a poor start, clearly bogged down, was I think back to 4th going into the first corner. Slight contact from the player behind of Vizot, but then that dive bomb, a lot of contact. It almost seemed like he just, I don't want to say gave up, but mentally let go of that race, if you will. He didn't keep his foot in it. Once he was back at the back, there was really no challenge from him, and that's a problem. These guys at this level have to be able to stay in it. Anything can happen.
Well, it's literally, we've seen the polar opposites. We've seen Murphy couldn't get a lap time in qualifying and has just got a really solid result in 4th position. Manu Rodri had it all to lose, I guess, at being pole position, and did. 8th spot. You know, he's going to need 2 wins now to win this competition. It's very simple.
Yeah, absolutely.
But someone like Murphy's put himself in the conversation now. If he gets a really good qualifying next, gets a good position, you know, from the start, round turn number 1, it's a big opportunity for him.
Absolutely. And just to point out some of the race aspects, the poor start from Rodri was certainly one thing that bottled up a lot of the cars. That dive bomb down the inside, I'm not sure that's on.
No.
It's a bit of, look, it works out. Everyone got away with it. No one got turned around to the point where they were so far back they were out of contention. There was a gap that opened up, but it was about a 3-second gap. It could have been a lot worse, but that's the kind of thing, these guys can't make those mistakes at this level either. I mean, you're costing not only yourself, but everyone else in the race, and it's so cutthroat.
You know, there's licking it and sending it, and then there's putting a boxing glove on and hitting it, you know? Yeah. It's 2 different things. Yeah. And that was definitely putting a boxing glove on and hitting it. Again, it will be looked at by the admins. I've seen crazier incidents. These cars, you know, it's got to take into account, these cars are very tough to handle at the best of times. And there's going to be a lot of you guys at home going, wow, how are they even controlling these cars? You know, the die-hard fans who play this game every day will still go, wow, this car is unbelievable to control.
And that's one of the other things, is we talked about needing to finesse the inputs to get the car in. It's the same thing when you correct it. That weight transfer is amplified then, and it's not like you can just snap it back. You've still got to, it's the tail that wags the dog in a lot of ways when you've got that much momentum swinging. So yeah, in all aspects, it's a tougher car to drive.
That's why they're here, and we're here. It's very simple.
One of many reasons.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I think as well, when we go to Silverstone, that's going to be an aspect throughout, because you've got Beckett's Chapel, famous S section, so much speed. And these cars through there are going to be a handful.
It's going to be about who's got the biggest kahunas, as we like to say in the UK. Through that S section, Maggots and Beckett's, someone's going to go through that and gain a lot of time. But can you do it consistently for 10 laps without making that big error? You make an error, 10 laps is a very short format. One big spin, game over.
It would be interesting to talk to these guys about how much they're saving tires, because the fastest lap in the race was a 1:49.7, at least the last time we saw the update.
1:47.9.
1:47.9,
Yeah.
okay. But that was race pace, right? Start of the race.
So 6
and at
tenths
the
off
end,
of qualifying by the end.
But they were at 150s at the end. So
Yeah.
how much tire saving was there actually? Obviously the fall off was noticeable, but is that going to become a strategy? Because I want to know, as you said, sitting in third place, Felice sitting there, was he saving his tires? Was he not? Is it something that going forward they will look to do more of if they're not quite in a battle and in contention? It's something that we certainly, I think, will see play out over the 3 races.
Well, just going to bring a point up here. We've seen Christian Kvyatniewski on screen right now with TX3 Razor. Those guys were battling. They didn't have a chance to learn about the tyre saving. They were battling too much. Dornington was behind them. He's had the opportunity to learn. Well, when can I save my tyres? When can I close up? Didn't quite work out for him in that race, but he's learned more than what the front two did.
Absolutely.
Murphy, he kind of got gifted 4th spot very early, so he's in a very similar position here as Dornington. So what have they learned from this? It's an evolution, this competition for these guys. It's a car they don't normally drive. It's not normally a car they use in esports. It's really out the box, which I think is very good. I like unique competitions.
That's actually a good thing, because certainly if you've got drivers coming across from multiple different sim games and genres, it's not like you're putting them into a car that everyone on stage knows and they don't. There's no disadvantage at all in that sense.
Of course, yeah.
Well, with that, we are going to go to a break. Silverstone comes up next. We'll have another 5-minute qualifying session. It's going to be cutthroat, and then we're straight back into a 10-lap race. We'll see you in a minute. Excuse me. I've been yelled at in my ear. We're going to go to Damascus first, actually.
We have to go to Damascus.
Of course we do.
We love Damascus.
How dare I cut him off?
Thank you, Actual Vision. And said we love Damascus. And who we love as well? We love the man, Christian himself. He came out here in full force. He qualified last week from the Madrid Games Week, and he got that first place. Christian, congratulations on your first place. That was difficult. It was surprising to see Razor first at the beginning, but how did you feel about this race? Were you confident on Catalonia?
So thanks. And yes, so I think that's so difficult race for me, but the start, I do all the race because I start the 4th position, and in the first corner I was the 2nd position. Then I fighting with Razor. I be calm because this car in the first 2 laps I have very understeer, and later I go back the Razor and I have very oversteer. Then I think that go calm, you can win this. And the Razor do the mistake, I can take the first position, and only I must do that I want.
Definitely, congratulations. The next track today will be Silverstone. You're first, obviously, on the main rankings, and you're definitely on a good track to win. How do you feel about Silverstone? Is that a circuit you like? Are you comfortable on this, and are you looking forward to win that one as well?
I must say that I training so low. The mass training I Barcelona, Catalonia, and then now we will see in Silverstone. But I don't believe it because I think that maybe 5, 6 position. But I see now the first position, I can believe it. Then go push up.
All right, he doesn't believe it, but we will believe in him, and I believe in Christian for now. We're gonna go to a quick break before coming back for not only the Silverstone track, but also a quick interview on the current McLaren test simulator driver, Rudy van Buren, coming up after the break. an amazing first race after on that Logitech G Challenge European 2018. And Christian, the Spanish, who gets the first place today. The next circuit will be on the home of Formula One, Silverstone, coming up next. But before that, we have a guest today to welcome on stage. Someone you will know if you have been following the sim racing competition, the winner of the 2017 World Fastest Gamer, which was not only an esports competition, but also a big set of tests, cognitive, physical tests to pass. And he successfully passed all of them to then join McLaren team as the official McLaren simulation driver. And he now does all these tests. So we're gonna welcome him today on the stage and on twitch.tv/LogitechG to get some questions for Rudy Van Buren. Hello, Rudy. How are you? Good. Very good to see you. So, welcome to the stage. Have you been watching that first race with us?
Yeah, we came in just before the race, so I watched a little bit.
All right. So, I have a first question for you. How do you think you would fare against these guys on these tracks with this car?
I'd be absolutely nowhere. No, it's an unfamiliar platform. The guys are on top of their game, so no, I would definitely be at the back.
So, you don't believe it at all? Not even like a 7th place?
Sorry?
You don't even believe in a 7th place?
Well, you can always try for a 7th place. Might be a 6th.
Well, we believe in you still, Rudy. So, first question is, all of our drivers today, they are on the McLaren 720S, one of the supercars from McLaren, and I believe you've already driven this one. How do you like the McLaren 720S?
Well, I've actually driven it last week in Kota during Pirelli Hot Laps, and it's an amazing piece of kit. Amazing power, good drivability, easy to get going as well for everybody, and don't forget the looks either. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's quite a beautiful car as well. I mean, we love the supercars from McLaren. Do you have any favorite car? Have any favorite of your McLaren supercars?
If I need to pick any, I'd say the McLaren P1.
Yeah, I think I'm a P1 guy as well. I was about to say P1, but I think P1 is kind of the favorite. The 2019 Senna is coming soon as well, which is also a really nice one. Are you a fan of that design as well?
I think the story behind the Senna is cool, but looks-wise, I'd say a P1 is way better in my opinion.
P1, which remains the absolute standard. And one more, so all of these pilots there, they are looking to join the McLaren esports Shadow team, and they're just looking to have their chance. What would be your tips? As someone who won the world's fastest gamer, you had to train a lot, you had to prepare a lot for this. What would be your tips for these players to do their best and to have the best chance to qualify?
Well, first of all, win today. Make sure that you're invited to the semi-finals. Then make sure you do your thing on all the different platforms there. Get to the final and be prepared for anything. If you make it to the final, we can always assume you're good at driving in various platforms. But then it comes to the media, to the fitness, to the cognitive kind of thing. So be all round it. Be all round it. It's the only thing I can say.
So when you train for that, did you go to a specific gym regimen? Do you go for nutrition? How serious? How did you train for these finals and especially these physical tests?
Well, at the time that World Fastest Gamer got announced, I was quite competitive into CrossFit. So muscle-wise, I was there, but condition-wise, you can always improve. So I tried to work on a bit more stamina, and so I did, and it played out in the final.
Yeah, definitely, it's the key. And you watch, you're a CrossFit guy. How much do you deadlift to all of you guys? Give them a key.
185.
God damn, I'm 170. I hate you, man. I was about to try on both, but it's not working yet. So the next circuit today on the championship, obviously we have Barcelona, we have Silverstone and Hockenheim. The next one is Silverstone. How do you like that one?
I think Silverstone in the 720S is a very big challenge. The car is quite lively at high speed. There's quite some downforce on it, so you can carry a lot of speed, but then it becomes tricky mid-corner to balance it out. So I think it's a real good test for all of the drivers.
Definitely a real good test. Any tips with that 720S on Silverstone? What would be the part of the track you would focus on?
Mainly the corners before the few straights. Make sure you get a good exit. Take all the speed you can onto the straight, so you can either attack the guy in front or make sure you don't get attacked from behind.
All right, good one to know. And among these three tracks today, obviously we have Hockenheim coming after that. Among these three, which one would you say is your favorite? Which one is the one you would be most confident on?
I prefer Hockenheim. Got the most real-life experience in Hockenheim, so and Hockenheim is just a special flow. The first part's fast, you can slipstream, and then the last part's really tight and squeezy. So it's just the best overall, in my opinion.
Definitely a great track coming, Hockenheim. Although it changed a lot, right, through the history and stuff. Are you more of a fan of the old Hockenheim, or do you like the new one as well?
No, I think with the current cars we're driving, the new Hockenheim is fine. The old one's fast and it's got the history and the story behind it, but for nowadays cars, the new track's fine.
Okay, and last question for you. The question that has, a big war, obviously, between everyone. There are 2 tracks in Germany, Hockenheim and Nürburgring. Which one is yours? Which one is your favorite?
I go for Nürburgring Nordschleife then, if I can change the question a bit. I think that's the best track in all of the world.
Yeah, I think Nordschleife is a big fan. How about the Formula 1 Nürburgring? Are you a bit of a fan of this one?
Yeah, I think in a Formula type car it's cool because it's very flowing. So when you've got the downforce to actually use the track to its potential, then I think it's really cool. For GTs, it's a bit. I'm not the biggest fan of it.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much, Rudy Van Buren, for your insights and your help for all the players who will try to join him in that McLaren team and try to get their chance at qualifying on the McLaren Technology Center. Silverstone coming up next with our 8 drivers gunning for victory today. See you after the break. We are back on the stage on Paris Games Week for the Logitech G Challenge Europe 2018. We just had Rudy Van Buren, the current official simulation driver for McLaren F1, giving some really great tips for any driver out there looking to just break out. And that's the best opportunity of the day with Logitech and with McLaren to potentially join the McLaren F1 esports team. That's going to be a great challenge for them to qualify for the McLaren Experience Center. And all of our drivers are getting ready. We're going to move to a second track on Silverstone, the home of Formula 1, one of the oldest tracks on the Formula 1 circuit, and an extremely fast one, an extremely challenging one for the 720S. Definitely a difficult one for all of our players. Let's take a look at this track with our geocasters, sadokists, and actual vision.
Race 2, Silverstone Grand Prix. We get straight into it. The Spirit You Home in some ways.
Home track for me.
Yeah, well, there you go. I wasn't going to give you too much credit. The UK, they like everything about them.
Well, I didn't build it.
I didn't think you did. Point is, I was giving you some credit. It's kind of the spiritual home of motorsport in a lot of ways. I've had the privilege of being there. Lovely facility.
It's beautiful.
It's lovely. Doesn't use a whole lot of undulation, which is something that I like, but it does have a ton of high-speed corners, a couple of them which are blind on entry. You do have Club and Vale, which have a little bit of some movement and undulation,
up into Stowe as well.
To them, certainly. And it's a track, I think, as we already touched on, in these street cars, that could be very, very challenging, just given the magnitude and speed required on every single lap. As we just quickly, before we touch back on that, look at the points and the total times from the last race. So Kevnietsky sits with 15 on the top of the leaderboard, 1 for our previous pole sitter, Matt Rodri, who, by all accounts, kind of fell apart that race.
Yeah, absolutely. He's we build him up as the big dog coming across from GT Sport, of course. He's got pedigree in Project Cars too. I'll give him his due. He's got to now prove it. He's got to put it down. When it really matters, this is now where he's got to perform. He's got the pedigree. We know that. He got pole position. He has the ability. He's got to transition it to the race.
Well, and he's also someone who would have been a threat to Rudy Van Buren last year.
Absolutely.
In his journey to joining McLaren as a full-fledged sim driver now, and does the hot lap stuff for F1 weekends. He's done Race of Champions. He has a ton of skill. But you have to question the mistakes, and unfortunately for racing, consistency is everything, and you can be the fastest driver in the world, but you've got to have the maturity and racecraft, as you said yesterday, the racecraft to go with that. Not saying he doesn't, but not the best showcase of those things in race 1 for him.
But you have to, you cannot just rely on talent.
No,
when you make a mistake, you're defined by your mistakes and how you react to the mistakes. Look at Murphy again. We've got the 2 polar opposites again. Murphy didn't qualify, didn't get a lap time in, and he looked like he was in dire straits. But then all of a sudden he's like, do you know what? I've got to reap what I sow, and he made his opportunity himself.
Well, exactly that. And part of that is the opposite point to what I was making about Manuel. It is maturity and it is racecraft, because he kept his nose clean.
Yeah.
And given all the incidents in corner one, boom, he was 5th place immediately, then picked up a further place over Manuel, I think, even before the end of lap 1.
Absolutely,
so within 1 lap, he'd gone up half the field. And he had a challenge towards 3rd place. Didn't quite materialize, but he certainly was closing that gap and getting it to a point where if a mistake happened in front of him, he might have inherited a podium.
You've got to look at Manu Rodri there and go, he was pole position, he's got in too conservative. And with the, the plethora of talent we've got here, like, you can't afford to do that.
Yeah.
You cannot afford to do that.
No, yeah, absolutely not. It does come to it, like I say, though, with these cars especially, and the qualification process is based on a time trial of 1 lap.
Yeah.
You can have speed in different ways. There's obviously different driving styles. You've got momentum drivers, you've got late breakers, you've got throttle mashers that have incredible car control. There's all kinds of styles. They have to learn each other as well. Some of these guys won't be as familiar, and we kind of did see that with early braking. There was some contact. The first race, I think, was very conservative.
Yeah.
Very aggressive off the start, but I think conservative overall. And I think voiding that mistake, if we can get the train going, which these guys are certainly capable of,
we'd love to see the train.
It's going to be cutthroat.
Just to reiterate your point, we were watching the guys practice this morning, and we had Vivo, who's right at the far end over there. He was practicing against AI in a race scenario. Then we had someone like Manu Rodri, who was just doing hot lap after hot lap after hot lap. And then we had Murphy, who was going for the 10-lap stints, trying to keep the tyres within a certain range. And it paid off in that first race, of course.
That's what I was going to say. I think ultimately, if you've qualified here, you already have pace. It could be a warm-up thing. You want to do hot laps and just do the warm-up. But I think the first thing I would be doing is, if I haven't done it leading up to this, which you should have done, is certainly do 10 laps. Get those tires, feel them out, have that reconnaissance done before you're going into the live race. So I don't disprove any of those warm-up tactics, but it has to be a mental thing and how the driver feels comfortable and the preparation they've done.
Yeah, of course. Like I say quite often, 90% talent, that extra 10% to reach that top level and to succeed at that level is in the head.
Well, part of this, and you want to go back to that, in the head in terms of being able to adapt and think on the fly, you have to consider the 2 players that qualified here at Paris Games Week over the last 2 days.
On these actual rigs they're using as well, remember.
Certainly that helps, but also the point I was going to make is, with them perhaps with no guarantee. Okay, I won't say that maybe they wouldn't expect to be here, because they know their pace. One of them is a world champion now in project cars. Certainly he would have said coming to this, yeah, I can make it. But without the expectation and the knowledge that you guaranteed are going to be here, you wouldn't have done maybe those 10-lap stints.
No.
You wouldn't have played with the 720S as much. So to have Razor finish 2nd place and lead for, I think, 5 laps of the first race, that's impressive, because he wouldn't have had as much practice and preparation for this event.
Well, no, of course. So, of course, last week I was in Vienna with another Project Cars 2 competition, and another TX3 driver called Storm managed to come away with the win, which is a major event within Project Cars 2. So the pressure on Razor's shoulders to be the next TX3 guy, we finally got one of the major championships under our belt as a team. They're really quite proficient at the top level, but never reached that, the pinnacle, the top of the mountain, as you like.
It does help, though, to have a teammate that's that aggressive, that you get to play with regular. I shouldn't say that aggressive, but that skilled and that accomplished.
For sure.
Because you're in a server with him, you're on a track with him, you're going to be pushing. Every time he does a lap that's faster than you, you're not going to settle for second best. You're not going to go, oh yeah, well, he's the world champion. You're going to go, no, he's my teammate. I don't care. I want to beat him.
Well,
right?
Your CSGO circuit, your PUBG circuit, when you play with better players, they're going to be coming at you with better strats. They're going to outplay you. You've got to learn how to not be outplayed by those strats all the time. It's exactly the same with sim racing. If you're racing with better people, you're only going to get quicker.
And exactly that. And not only is he racing with them, but as a teammate, you get all that knowledge.
Yeah,
you get to probe him a little bit, if you will. So that's going to help tremendously as we look down on the floor. We get ready for, again, a 5-minute qualifying. We saw what sort of dramas that can create. There's a lot of pressure on it. We saw some very serious oversteer moments. We saw Murphy. I never actually got a chance to find out what happened to him. We didn't see it on camera, but obviously went back to the garage, and that was the end of it for him. Didn't get to put in a lap. I'm sure that's something he'll address. Maybe he'll even be conservative to make sure that he gets a lap in this time.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It's a tough one. He knows he's got the pace in the race. He managed to get from 8th to 4th, and it's no mean feat with the the caliber of driver here. None of these are here by accident. It's not like the dentist where you hand out stickers. These guys are here on merit.
My favorite place. Love the dentist.
These guys are here on merit, of course. So, he put himself under pressure and he showed, the mettle. I think if he qualifies well here, he's a big dark horse now.
If you look at the fact that he was 4th, from 8th, give him fourth as a starting position.
The three
No
people in front,
guarantee,
right, Dorniden, Razor, and Kwiatkowski, if they see that Murphy's in amongst them on qualifying, you know, they're going to be 50p, 5p time here. They're going to be puckered and ready to race.
Lovely bolstered seats, driving position suiting everyone. I would love to be sat in the rig right now. Did see Lando giving his go downstairs, as obviously we just had Van Buren on stage. Lando's downstairs. I will say he's not as quick as these guys. I'm just going to throw that out there now.
Well, you know, you've thrown him under the bus straight
Sorry,
away.
Lando.
Yeah, he's got to set a benchmark for me to try and beat at some point.
We'll see. We'll see. I wanted the one-on-one him. He said no. He said he was scared that I was going to beat him.
Oh, okay.
Definitely didn't say that.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's good to have him
We were
here.
struggling to hear earlier on, and I feel like that's just carrying over.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We did have some interruptions within our headset. Nonetheless, we're going to look back.
Here's
this
the
was
turn one
start.
incident.
Absolutely, and that was the slow start from Manruti. We didn't follow that all the way through, but obviously he basically stood on the brakes, contact from behind. And what I wanted to see in a full replay is that, I think, essentially caught out Cameron, who dove it up the inside, trying to avoid. It may have been Constantina. Part of me thinks he was just way past the breaking point, given the speed he had to the apex. But either way, there was some major contact, which certainly shaped up this. 3 players at the front running for cover and keeping within tow of each other. But it was Murphy, perhaps, that gets drive of the race, starting in 8th and closing that gap toward the end. He's in the blue car, top of shot, just heading out. But then the battle of the race, if you want to talk about driver of the race, was probably Balesta going up against Vizot.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you there in that respect. But I would like to give Christian Kwiatkowski the credit that he deserves here. You know, not only has he gone and won the race, but he's had to make an overtake on the guy that was second in qualification. Obviously, Manu Rodri made that mistake at the start or was involved in that incident. So he's had to overtake one of the quickest guys here and maintain that position, not able to look after the tyres, and yet still came away with the big W.
Big W. I mean, again, 15 points, 45 points available if you won all 3 races, the maximum amount. He's now got 15 already under the belt, and he'll be, consistency for him.
Well, they want to win these races, right? They want to win every single race, but right now he's got the added help here. If he comes in the top 3 right now, even third, he's in a great spot to go ahead and win this.
Absolutely. 2 wins and a podium pretty much would seal it based on the competition here. So he knows that pressure's off. He's got the win. He's got the maximum points. He's got a bit of a buffer. You're right. They're certainly going to go for all out. Certainly going to go for the win. I certainly think as well, if we don't have incidents off the start and everyone stays close, there is no comfort zone. But if gaps open up, you may see him just say, third, second, I'm okay here.
Yeah.
I'll put some pressure on, but I'm not going to risk it. Because he, again, with the points lead, could carry that through. It does become a strategic game in some ways now.
But on the flip side, you've got Manu Rodri now. You've
nothing to lose.
You've got Vivo as well. These guys have got nothing to lose right now. It's kind of, if you're not first, you're last kind of deal here.
All right.
So they're going to really go after
Bobby.
the win.
Come on now.
I love throwing those little quotes.
The man only turns left.
Yeah, that's true. When he's not on fire.
When he's not on fire. Invisible flames at that. I think you're on fire right now with that shirt.
Well, I do like a sunset color. I've pulled it off.
Sunset
Next time we work
floral.
together, you have to come with the pink.
With a little bit of clouds in the sky, like
Damascus got the old memo.
I had a reddish pink shirt I could have worn. I didn't want to wear the same as you. I didn't want to.
Okay.
I thought that was your thing,
It is my thing.
This isn't. I don't want to be that guy.
That's fair enough.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, absolutely. There will be a next time.
Well, certainly with Logitech around, there will be lots to look forward to in the sim world. It's growing rapidly.
Hugely.
Focus on camera.
The presentation of this competition has been...
Yeah, that's absolutely part of it. Like I said at the start of the show, we're at Paris Games Week. This is a hub for all of esports. Yes, we've got TwitchCon going on, Epicenter happening in Counter-Strike right now, ESL Hamburg going on in Dota, 2 pinnacle events. But then in terms of conventions, this is it. We've got PUBG, ESWC just over to our right. I think Vitality might be leading that the last I checked. Scoom's new team there. A lot of people may not know what I'm talking about listening to a sim racing broadcast.
Yeah, of course.
Point is, there's some pedigree on that stage within the PUBG scene. Lots of other stuff. FIFA's got one of their world championships going on at this event. This is a real deal. And to have sim racing here, this is just the start of it. It is vibrant. We talked about it. It translates directly in skill. There's so much promotional aspect to it. Spectator friendly. And it's so fun.
And we've got 2 of the biggest names here in sim racing as well, with Lando Norris and Rudy Van Buren.
Real world racing with Lando
and real world
Norris.
racing, of course.
Yep.
But last night we actually got to see Paris as well. So Logitech have really put on an event today.
It's a romantic city. We had a candlelit dinner.
We had a candlelit dinner
on
as well.
On a boat.
Yeah.
Going by the Eiffel Tower.
It was delightful.
It was delightful.
Did say yes.
I did say yes. The steak was delicious. That was about the only yes I said.
Yeah,
With that, we're going to say yes to Silverstone. I'm not going to get your hopes up. I'll think about saying yes later. Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. It is the full Grand Prix circuit, Sector 1. Tight, very, very challenging new section in the infield, if you want to call it that, leading down toward Club and then Stowe and back into your familiar territory by the Heritage Pits when you throw it into Vale, and then the very high-speed section we talked about, Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel.
Delightful area. It's probably one of my favourite areas of track. I love the British tracks, you know, my favourites are like Alton Park, Brands Hatch, but Silverstone has a real affection with me. I've been there twice this year as well, which is really nice. I got to see Formula 1 and Rallycross at Silverstone.
I think if you were to just to give more on those corners we mentioned, if you were to look at the famous corners in racing, personally I think Tournée d'Istanbul was up there. May it rest in peace. But obviously Eau Rouge, I think these corners, Beckett's and Chapel, are right there with them. I think they are world-class corners.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like you said, it's the spiritual home of racing, the UK. So, you know, I think Silverstone has that place in everybody's hearts. For me, personally, I have to go probably the bus stop at Spa for me, and not the new version, the old version bus stop, the real bus stop.
The left-right, yeah, that was tight.
Or the old chicane at Imola as well. That was really quite, quite the corner.
Imola definitely has some character. We won't get too far into that. Qualifying has begun. 5 minutes, and they all leave the pits relatively close together. We don't quite have our track map up on screen, but we talked about this. You want to leave a little bit more of a gap. They are on the outlap. They can address that as they come across the line. Patience, by the way, in this
I'll tell you what.
Club corner. You've got to be very, very... There's a couple different line options, by the way.
Oh,
you can brake to the apex.
Wide.
Absolutely.
So wide.
Brake to the apex. You do have to be careful for a cut track on the left-hand entry, because if you go all four wheels off, it will give you a slowdown there. And if you take a wide entry, you can carry... I'm not sure the gear ratio in these particular cars, but you can carry a longer throttle, or you can hold it tight and try and slam it on the exit. There is definitely line options, which also mean overtaking opportunities.
Dive bombs for people up the inside, of course. I just want to point out there that the car looked really, really smooth there behind the other two cars. Looked really good indeed. So that he could be one to watch out for. We've got Manu Rodri here. He's got everything to do right now. He's got Team Redline. Obviously, Lando Norris is here from Team Redline, so he's got to uphold that reputation today. And with that pole position in the first race, he's got the pedigree, but can he put it into the race? See him on screen now, looking pretty focused. Oh, no, there we go. There's Vizo as well. So it's going to be interesting here today. A long lap here, so most likely they're only going to get one lap time here. They may get a two, but with the long nature of this course and the way the course works with the corners and the tyres really, really overheating, there's every opportunity here that they only have that one opportunity, and it really does become a shootout.
Yeah, expectedly they'll dip into the sub 2 minute, about 158. Maybe we got a 157.
Ooh, that would
be tight. It would be impressive.
That's kind of GT3 car territory there. Those are race cars. Obviously, this car's got a bit more power.
Do you think it'll be plus 2 minutes?
Oh, it's going to be tight here. Like I say, I think we're going to see a lot bigger difference between first and eighth position than we did in the first race. I think this is a very technical track.
Well, I'll correct you and say, I know your sentiment. It was first and seventh, obviously, because Murphy did, but it was 1 second was the gap.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that's the case. The time lapse have begun. We're on board with Murphy, so things looking good to at least get across the line this time. I say that.
Hold on,
and he
Sally.
gets wild coming out of Club Corner. Meanwhile, back to where Razor, TX3 Razor exists. He's heading out of the high-speed corners and down onto the long hanger straight.
Going sideways isn't very fast, but by God, does it look good.
It does, especially with this car.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see
up as well.
I think we're going to see a lot of it. Obviously, a massive miss of the apex for Razor trying to dive it in, but this is where you have the line option. He holds it tight. It likes to go down mid-corner on the gears as well, so he's looking for that drive off the corner as he heads down past the Heritage Pits. Murphy, that's taking a lot of track, a lot of curb, and certainly getting late on the brakes is going to step the back end out, but he keeps it smooth in the high-speed section. This is the hanger straight, excuse me. Last time we were in the infield straightaway, but now he's getting near to the end of Sector 1, and it's looking solid. Big gap for him. I think Cameron was actually leading out of the pits. He had a bit of a moment at the start of his time lapse, so Murphy's got track position to play with here and no one to distract in front of him.
See Miguel there coming through the old start-finish line here, up through Maggots, Beckett's here. Oh, it just looks really untidy on the entrance there, and obviously you're going to impede yourself here for the next left-hander, and especially this right-hander, you need to get out as wide and open up this right-hander as much as you possibly can, and you make one mistake going into that section, you're impeded for the whole sector, so almost like a second's worth you can lose there easily.
And Rodri in the Lovely papaya
203.5.
orange. Okay.
Kwiatkowski is
That's
only
fair.
a 100th up on Murphy's time. Now we've got Vizo, who is 0.4 of a second down in third position, but it is really, really close. What about, well, here we go then. Manu Rodri got pole in the first race. Where does he go this time? Well, it didn't count there, so he is under some serious pressure. They are all on their last attempts now.
And that's probably a cut track from Matt Rodri that doesn't allow the timing to count. So you're right, pressure certainly on as the 5-minute timer continues to count down, and he's gone to the pits. So he's going to end up starting in 8th place. But Balesta's gone fastest with a 2:03.2, 3/10 clear of both Kwiatkowski and Murphy, putting him with a good buffer and a bit of time still if he wants to continue on and try and get a second lap in.
Don't think he crossed the line before it stopped. Well, that's qualifying.
It's
that's qualifying.
counted. It is
Over.
done. That is
done and
so
dusted.
1 lap was all they got in. I thought they would maybe get.
I was going
to say a couple people on hot laps that should still be counting. So your point stands. Balesta's time counted, but it was after the flag, so the next lap can't continue. These guys can. So Kwiatkowski and Murphy now knowing, as they would see in their heads-up display on their dash, that they are dropped off of the front row. Murphy at least is. They can give it the beans, go for it again, and Murphy's going to try exactly
Murphy's done.
He is. You're right. It says pits.
Kwiatkowski currently in second spot, knows that Miguel cannot respond to him right now. He is in the driving seat right now, pardon the pun. But then we've got Vizo as well in the top 4. Dornington struggling here, down in 6th. And Razor was right up the front in the last race, down in 7th. Pole position in the last race. Manu Rodri hasn't put a time in.
Again, it's 1 second from 1st to 7th, or 1st to those who have put in a lap. As you mentioned, Manu Rodri this time does not. But Kwiatkowski, consistency, we talked about it. He's picked up a win. He just needs to finish in the podium, and he'll have a great chance of wrapping up the qualifying spot for the McLaren Shadow project. That's where they move on from this Project Cars event. Murphy, he's still coming back around, despite that it says he's in pits. Okay, excuse me, we're on with Vizo. I thought this was Murphy's car. But Vizo is going to try and put it in. Where did Kwiatkowski go? Has he crossed the line yet? He's got to be close. I think he's just crossed the line.
It's 3/10 then. Well, is it? We need to get on board with these guys. Dornington, has he finished in? Well, no, here we go then. So, well, that's Miguel. So Miguel was on a quick one. Dornington's gone second then. So Dornington, 2/10 off the pace, and he's overtaken Kwiatkowski here. And is Kwiatkowski still out on track here?
We certainly saw him on a lap. It doesn't show him as in pits yet, nor too does it with Balesta, who's apparently going to stay on track to allow it to time out, or perhaps drive around to the pits.
He might practice some starts here.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
There's Dornington then, so he's really put the hammer down here, and there we go. I think we are done and dusted here.
So that's going to call it. So Kwiatkowski at this point should have crossed the line. He's clearly backed out of that lap. We didn't see it on camera, but clearly he's abandoned trying to get back up front. Nonetheless, 3rd place start for him is not a bad position at all to be in. He was on the 2nd row in the last race as well. Razor's way back in 7th. He started outside pole, exactly, front row, and had the lead into corner 1. So a much different landscape that will be polluted by cars in front of him.
Front row is the final row this time. It's a complete reversal. Miguel was in 6th position. He's on pole position. It's complete role reversal. Dornington and Kwiatkowski, obviously battling for this championship, both got a podium in the previous race, are in a great spot right now. Murphy in his usual 4th spot right now.
Yeah, and consistency key. This gives him a lot more of a chance. He showed good racecraft, showed very good discipline on the opening lap of the last race. We'll see if that pays off again. I expect it to be a little tidier this time. Yeah. It's good to see some players certainly starting the starts, or practicing the starts, but this contact that we saw, I don't think we're going to see that
Turn
twice.
one's a lot quicker here. It's not a big braking zone as it was at Catalonia, of course.
That's a great point as well. Less margin for error. Now that said, less option to go wheel to wheel, perhaps. You certainly around the outside.
We may see some run wides here. That's the question, and penalties can come into fruition. But here we go. Race is off here. Vizo we're on board with them in 5th spot. You can see that Miguel in the lead here is going to have to defend from Dornington. Dornington makes a mistake there, runs wide, and he runs wide with Kwiatkowski as well here. So Murphy then is going to try and get around the outside here, not able to do so. Is he going to go up the inside of Kwiatkowski? He does indeed. Is he going to hold on to 3rd? A little bit of touching that argy-bargy. And actually, you can see in the background here that is Manu Rodri in that orange car trying to find some space here. But meanwhile, Miguel and Dornington are off in the lead of this race.
That contact in the back though, man. Rodri, he got his elbows out, tried the undercut, but got
got forced, shuffled into a 3-wide sandwich, which he now went from the middle to the outside as they swap over once more. It's Razor and Murphy just in front. Man, Rupert on the brakes, the tight defensive line, but contact perhaps sideways. It's delightful. Tandem drifting.
That's delightful.
The welded diff perhaps, but that allows, as you can see it immediately, not only do they give up spots, they open it up for Cameron to try and get back into contention, and they are giving nothing to each other. Once again, the gap will open. Balesta's clean, and meanwhile, Kevin Niewski stays clean as well. It's going to give the front three another run, but man, oh man, it's wheel to wheel in the back.
Rodri running wide again there. You can see that Murphy was under a lot of pressure there and actually took a chance, and I feel like that'll be looked at moving forward. He's a little bit too quick into that right-hander, but what Manu Rodri did to him, Murphy's run wide there, he's lost the rear of the car, and he's just slid it up the inside. It's beautiful, but obviously lost that position. Christian Kwiatkowski running wide here is going to be impeded going around the right-hander onto the hanger straight here up towards Stowe. You see Manu Rodri then putting the pressure here on, but this thing's Razor as well. So Razor making his way through the field right now. But I'll tell you what, Dorniden and Kwiatkowski are both in a great spot right now. Of course, Dorniden finished in third position in the first race, and Kwiatkowski finished in first, and they're both in a podium spot right now.
Again, we're seeing the difference in braking between two different drivers. Razor goes a little bit early. Manruri was not looking to try and make a move there, but nearly had to take avoiding action. Shows his nose up the inside. Thankfully, no contact between the two of them, so they both hold their line as they get back down into the final two corners. The double apex right-hander that leads onto the front straight. One lap done already, and our lead, Balesta, is 1.6 seconds clear. We saw how cleanly he got off the line, and that's translated massively. Balesta is a very fast driver, so watch for him to try and hold that again. Tires will be a factor. We'll certainly see the gaps change, but behind him, people are battling. That actually favors him right now.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we saw that he put on the best show in the previous race by coming sixth. You know, he had a hell of a battle, but now he's got some clear track in front of him. We're going to see how good this guy really is. But you said, you know, he has to win this race to have a chance of winning this whole competition. He is doing exactly what he needs to do. But the big factor here is, we said about Kwiatkowski, he is in third spot. That podium could be key for him.
Absolutely. And look who's hunting from fourth again, I should say, is Murphy. Great dive from, and set that up brilliantly coming onto the straight from Manrod Ruri, and he actually holds the line, doesn't allow to overshoot, doesn't allow for an undercut. Now, even if he had, the favorite part about that is that the corner comes back to him. So he had that set up, telegraphed, figured it out in the last lap, and manages to get one further position up. Should his pace translate over, we didn't get to see it in qualifying, Murphy's going to have a lot to handle with him coming behind, because he seems, as you say, with last race falling apart, like he's got nothing to lose and he's on a charge.
Well, absolutely, could not agree with you more there. But then we've got Razor on the flip side here, who did really well in the previous race, and he's down in sixth spot. So he's going to try and follow Manu Rodri through. So Manu Rodri is not going to have an easy path towards Murphy, because he's going to be looking in his mirrors constantly.
The gap extends further for Balesta, up another 0.3 to nearly 2 seconds, 1.9. The gap similar from second place down to Kwiatkowski in third. Dorniden trying to hold on, there. But he's got a lot of oversteer. That's going to allow Christian much closer, and you're right, the red number indicates penalty. He and both Vizot have one, but he more importantly, because in second place, that's going to cost him tremendously. Kwiatkowski could inherit another position and further points as a result of it.
Yeah, it's a huge gain for him right now. He knows he doesn't even have to make an overtake now on Dorniden. He will 100% gain that spot. And if Murphy doesn't close the lead in here, I think Kwiatkowski will just take the opportunity just to slow right down. Big mistake there by Razor again. Razor just putting a bit too much pressure on himself here. But they need these results now.
I think that may have been Vizot. The silver and white can be misleading to see. Again, that oversteer.
He loses it completely there.
I mean, it's fine. He's controlling it. You're right. It's not exactly comfortable, but if he continues with this amount of oversteer, those rears are going to be cooked.
Toast. Absolutely gone. That's for sure. Kwiatkowski's in a very unique position right now. Obviously, with getting the race win in race number 1, he's pretty much assured right now of second spot if he just holds in behind Dorniden. Does he push to try and chase the leader here? Miguel, 2.3 seconds in the lead, absolutely smashing it to pieces right now. What do? You know, you've got the lead in the championship. Even if you finish in third spot here, you're going to continue to be in the lead of the championship, or do you go for maximum points?
And this is what I touched on, because he's got a gap, so he actually can strategically make that decision. If there was someone all over his backside. If Manrudy, excuse me, who's closing now on Murphy, if they can get nearer to him, then he has to keep it on.
Yeah, of course.
He can't afford to make a mistake. He can't afford to lift. Right now, if I'm Kevin Nieski, okay, yes, he's got a sniff of a chance toward Dornadin, who's made mistakes, but you don't want to waste the tires because you're going to be thinking about that. You've got room behind you. You can sit strategically.
He looks really good through here as well. Actually, he's taking a lot tighter line through Magnus and Beckers, actually, as you can see. Dornadin there on the brakes. And I'll tell you, if he gets a really good exit here onto the hanger straight, this is where he can make a move up towards Stowe. Uphill section, you can really be, you can get greedy on the brakes, and you can also squeeze if you can get up the inside, you can squeeze your opponent slightly wide there. It's a really wide exit on that corner. So we're still on board here with Manu Rodri in behind Murphy. Murphy there, slide the car. There we go. You can see in front there the mistake by Dornadin. Kwiatkowski is officially in second spot.
Well,
Dornadin's having to move back here though.
The corner
on the inside. He's got it done.
The corner comes back, but it also switches again because that means he's going to be tighter on the right-hand apex. So Kevin Nieski's still holding on as we saw tandem mistakes, similar mistakes.
There
and
we
look
go.
at the battles changing. Dornadin is going to hold it back just barely as the outside does not favor Kevin Nieski.
Well, we've got our answer. Kwiatkowski is not holding any punches here. He is going all out for this. But 3 seconds now is the gap because they've been battling through that final second. They lost 1.5 seconds.
And they have to consider this. They have to consider that the more they battle, not only does Ballista get away, okay, fair enough, if you're Kevin Nieski, that's not a huge deal, but you're allowing the people behind to close it in. 5/10 loss.
Mistake. Miguel made a mistake there, coming down onto the back straight here. You can see Murphy under all sorts of pressure from Manu Rodri, but look how close the guys are battling for second. It's too close. Oh, here we go, snaking. He really has got a slipstream.
Same move Manrudy already made, so he's familiar with how to break the car in that. Murphy tried to go defensive, and exactly that. He gets wide, but the contact, he couldn't hold the apex. Both go off, and the position will have to be conceded shortly to Manrudy. Now, this gives a gap back to our battle from second. They've got more time to play with, and it's going to bring Vizot back on the heels of fourth and fifth. That's drama because that's exactly what Murphy wanted to do. He knew Manrudy has already sold that move before, and he knew he had to be defensive. Unfortunately, he couldn't hold the undercut.
Yeah, of course. Manu Rodri got it nailed, but he couldn't quite hang on to it. Murphy there with another mistake, and Manu Rodri's gone as well. Both heads have gone there. Accidents, the accident they've had, it's killed them both here.
And Manrudy can't afford that. He's already had one poor mistake. He's already had one race that was a catastrophe. He's going to have another because he's fallen back to 7th after a massive spin caused on his own.
That's championship over. If he stays in 7th, that is championship over for him. He's not even going to give himself a glimmer of hope going into the final race. People like Kwiatkowski, people like Dornadin, they must be looking at this leaderboard thinking, this is just falling into place for us.
Absolutely.
A one-on-one battle.
And falling into place for Ballista in this particular race as well.
Yeah, of course. He puts himself right in the picture. Down into the final sector. Oh, Dornadin is really shaky under the brakes. Looks like his exit speed's really good, but under brakes. Oh, here we go. No, he's not going to do it. No.
He's not quite got the line for it, but he's got a tighter line, which means a bit more throttle application perhaps, and that means a run. It won't be turn 1. Not really a place you can overtake. But turn 3, hard on the right as we look at the fastest laps for each driver of 2:03.5. That's pole position again for Ballista. He's just running hot lap after hot lap. Look at the gap back.
Yeah, they're already 1.5 seconds slower than they were at the start of this race, though, so they're really putting the pressure on themselves. Miguel still extending that lead here. Dornadin doesn't look as quick as Christian right now, and I think if Christian gets the opportunity, he's going to take it. Oh, Murphy with a late little move here. That's delightful. Holds the apex, gets on the power earlier here, and, well, holds on to that position. So Vizot now loses out Murphy in his customary 4th.
Almost loses out again, though, on the exit because Murphy, he managed to hold on to it. We saw those 2 mistakes. We snapped away before we saw where Murphy ended up. We certainly know where Manrudy did. He's well down the order and out of contention. But Murphy holding on is very literally holding on not only to the position, but the car as he continues to have oversteer moment after oversteer moment, and the pressure continues to be applied behind by Vizot. Razor, by the way, just to note, great finish in second last race, is well down in 7th. That's further bolstering the position that Kevin Nieski has.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you there. I'm very intrigued at the pictures we've got here. That isn't Murphy on screen, it was beforehand. Murphy's whole upper body was moving there. He's putting a lot more input in with his body. And then we were looking there, and I believe that was Vizot. Just the arms, just a real steady input there.
Push the wheel, not pull it.
That's pressure. That is what pressure is. Murphy's feeling the pressure now. Vizot's just really nice and chill, just going to go through the pack. But then Vizot doesn't have as much on the line as Murphy. Murphy's put himself in a position to potentially, be in the conversation at the end of this, whereas Vizot isn't. So that kind of may be a big factor as well.
Down the straight to club. They'll hold. Up over top, it's still a battle at the front. Gaps opened up a little bit in our battle for second, so Dornative's got a little bit to work with. Murphy's still not far off of this, despite all of the dramas. And I say dramas, he's held it together very well. There's a little tail wag from the dog coming out of the corner, leading on to the front straight.
Yeah, I think Christian may have just given up the ghost here and thinks, you know what, third position's a great spot for me. He wants to stay in and amongst that penalty. Be interested to see what the penalty is for Dorniden, in all fairness, because it would tell a lot about what Christian's doing. If it's, you know, if it's only a second penalty and he's now outside that 1 second zone, it says to me that he's really struggling. But if it is, you know, more than a cut of 1 second, I feel like that Christian will be taking his time here. But Vizo, though, putting a little bit of pressure here on our man Carr here. Is he going to be able to take the ascendancy? No, he's not. Christian Kwiatkowski trying again to hold it there around the right hand, down the back straight here, in towards sector 2. Dorniden looking a little bit more assured these days here. You can see he's running out wide there. He's taking a chance at, you know, the steering input being later, which means he can gain more speed on the exit. So he's taking more chances here, and it seems to be paying off right now.
And this is where tires certainly come into it as well. As you mentioned, we're already seeing them well off of the qualifying pace, well off of the pace in which they were able to achieve even in the opening laps. That's a hairy moment. Certainly had lots of track left to save it, but it's not something you want. It's so scary when a car gets light, in a sim race especially, when you're running that close to the front and you think, God, I'm on the edge here. And it just starts to get away. To not overreact and overcorrect in those situations is a skill in itself. And that's where these guys certainly separate themselves from, you know, your average player. But I'm sure everyone at home knows what it's like to be leading, to think this is the greatest. You know, I'm out front, everyone thinks I'm fast, and then all of a sudden, oh, you're sideways, and then boom, overcorrect into the wall. Yeah, you're absolutely gone. You're completely right there. Dorniden seems like the oversteer is his style right now. He did it in the first race on the final corner pretty much every single lap. Seems to be doing it there in a really harsh braking zone, so it's kind of just styling it out right now, but he will be losing a lot of time there, and he will be losing a lot of temperature in the tyres, or gaining a lot of temperature, sorry, in the tyres. And they're going to end up like chewing gum in the end. But look at this, Christian now coming back here at Dorniden. So it looks like that Christian Kwiatkowski was taking his time here, getting those tyres back into a nice range, and he's now going to try and attack. Well, actually, with that big mistake there, that is enough for me to go, and that's I'm something done, I'm taking third. And that's where in a GT3 car you can get away with being aggressive on the throttle there. These cars, they're going to break loose. And sure, they have traction control. You mentioned it. That's optional. It's available to them. Some drivers may turn it off. But that lick of oversteer, and he just can't control it fast enough, opens the gap back up as they came out of club. Down through the loop. It's still a little bit tighter. Wellington Straits follows, and that's where a lot of the moves have been made. We haven't seen too many changes for position since the start. Obviously, Van Rudry was our major mover, but he's moved well backwards, unfortunately. In fact, to the tune of almost 3 minutes. Just to note, we haven't seen Razor on camera much, but he's obviously made a mistake in his own world. Oh, that's a big oversteer there. That is costing him a hell of a lot of time here, and Vizo has lost a position. Oh no, he's gained the position, sorry. Yeah, that's over top of Cameron, who's Cam gone a little wide and lost the rear end coming out, but Razor somewhere as well has made a mistake. You did. That backs you up, because you're saying, you know, well, this is how I see this car. The minute you feel like you've got this car nailed is the time that you stand up and you walk out that room, because you're too comfortable. This car will bite you back instantly. Car in the wall on the right, that was Razor. So that answers our question as to what happened. He sits on the inside. I believe that was pit exit. So that sits outside of Abbey Corner, and that's the race for Razor. He's not yet moving, I don't think, but we'll get back to that. So second place in the first race. He does still have position over Man Rudry, which in the case of Razor, Man Rudry having 2 poor races is pretty much out of it. But there he is. Yeah. Those points for him, that 2 points, as long as he stays running, is still significant to get him further up the order. But again, this is Kwiatkowski that's going to gain the massive lead from this. He sits in third, but it's a huge points haul on his closest rival. Meanwhile, Balesta, still to the tune of 6 seconds, is bringing himself back into this competition. Yeah, he's absolutely smashing it to pieces, is Miguel right at the front there. We said he needed a big result, and he is duly responding there. That was close from Kwiatkowski. I thought he was about to throw away a massive points haul as he got so sideways on the lead into club. That's kind of their normal driving style. Watching these guys practice, the amount of full-on opposite lock they were having to produce was actually quite remarkable. But then you look at their faces, it's just straight as a die. They're just so calm, collected about it. It's just like they're expecting it. Dorniden is absolutely another player. I say player, driver. We're in the esports world. They're players and drivers that we have to keep an eye on, because he now sits with I believe it was third in the first race ahead of Murphy, second in this one.
Yeah.
Kwiatkowski has a win and a third, so he's still slightly ahead currently mathematically, should the order hold. But that should put him into second place with Razor being so far down.
Yeah,
so now
Miguel will go to
race
third.
3 could make or break him.
Miguel would go up to third position here, and it would be very tight with the top 3. But we're seeing time and time again in many esports events that these guys, to be very good at one game is sensational, and it's an accolade in itself. We've got people like Miguel come across, Dorneyden. Like last week, we've got a guy called Magic Michael, who's right at the top level on Project Cars. He's in F1 esports. He's done the virtual GP. He's a champion on that as well. Just crazy.
Well, and I think that backs up the point that sim racing is transferable skills. You know, every game has its own, or every sim has its own characteristics, their own physics.
Every car,
absolutely,
in the real world racing.
Absolutely, but yet we're seeing people that are consistent across all titles. That to me says they have fundamentals, that they understand braking, they understand apexing, they understand corner speed, they understand the basics, the essentials, the fundamentals that could potentially, in those cases especially, when you see someone over so many games and so many styles, could translate to the real world, which is why sim racing is so valuable in my mind.
Could not agree with you more there. I feel like it's a real good platform to get themselves into the real world motor racing. But again, these people have different motivations now. Sim racing is becoming that big that is the end goal for these guys. They want to represent their country at the top level in sim racing.
So 2 to go as we hit lap 8.
seconds.
And I say that actually lap 9 as Ballista crosses the line, and you nailed it. 7.5 seconds.
Sometimes you just got to take a step back. We can commentate, we can throw accolades out there, but sometimes you've got to take a step back
Are
and
we
go,
sure he's not in the GT3 car?
He is fantastic. It's just, as a sim racer myself, I do a lot of racing, I do a lot of commentary. Sometimes there's a performance that just stands out there. He's done nothing special, not being on camera, but to be that far ahead of people on this level playing field as we are, that is sensational stuff.
Sensational indeed, and it's clinical. Unfortunately, he doesn't get to showcase it much because, as is the case when you run away and romp, you don't get much camera time, so we don't see him, but he won't mind. First place is first place. Meanwhile, further back down, Carboy Cam, he's trying to make amends with a few small mistakes, one of which cost him a position against Vizo that he's now pulled back subsequently, and as a result of it, still sits in 5th place.
Yeah, absolutely there. Done pretty well, I would say. I'm just really disappointed for Razor and Manu Rodri right now. We could have had some potential, with the pole position of Manu Rodri in the first race, threw it away. There was an opportunity for him to get big points. We could have had like a 5-way battle for the final. Looks like it's going to be only 3 people, but I tell you what, Christian Kwiatkowski is not done yet. He will gain this position because there is a penalty on Dorneyden, but that's not good enough for him. He wants to do it on track.
And I don't think he would be aware of that either. He wouldn't. Does that show up in his
HUD? He absolutely knows that there's a penalty, and that just goes to show the mindset of these guys.
So in that sense, he would know then that he only has to stay in 3rd because he's not going to catch Ballesta. So why risk position for both of them, him especially?
Some of these
just
guys
take that.
Some of these guys, like it's 0 to 100, and like there's people that kind of manage their race to the situations, and there's people that just race at 100% every single opportunity.
One of those being, and I just want to go back to it because you touched on it, is Man Rudry. We definitely can't deny his pace.
Big mistake there by Dorneyden. He got onto the curbs. We could not get onto the power.
No guarantee.
Around the outside, though. Oh, is he going to hold it? Is he going to hold it? Oh, contact there. Dorneyden with some oversteer. Christian Kwiatkowski trying to hold on the inside. And that's a racing incident. They're both there trying to get on the power really early. But that stems from coming out of Stowe. Dorneyden's run wide there, tried to get onto the power too early and just spun the wheels up and had to let off the gas completely. And the opportunity was there. But Kwiatkowski, does he now just step off? Because
exactly, that's the point. If he's up the inside and he makes a mistake, sure, he'll take it. He's a racer. There's a gap. But as they made contact immediately after in the middle of club, it's not worth it. If that's the risk that's involved, if he gets hit and loses the rear, he loses the gap, he loses, as you just pointed out, Murphy's all over them. So he knows he'll inherit 2nd place at this point. There's no point to give it away.
And we'll see by the lines he takes through this section here, his intentions.
Left field, one of the corners, you certainly can get a penalty if you're too aggressive, so Kwiatkowski doesn't
really is trying to do it on track here.
But he really is. And it's so tough to throw a nose down the second part of that corner because it comes back to the right so hard, so sharp, and so patient you have to be to get on the corner and head down past the Heritage pits. I don't think he needs to do this. I'm fearful that if he makes a move, this could cost him dearly.
12 seconds down to 5th. So he would go down into about 5th position if he was to spin. If he's to end up
it's still valuable points.
of course, it's valuable points, but we don't want him to be. He doesn't want to be down into 5th, does he? You know, he needs to just go. Look, I'm going to get 2nd position. I don't need to.
No, yeah, that's that's my point. The points in 2nd are still valuable.
He's done it. He's done it. Dornington is down into 3rd spot. So Kwiatkowski. Is that a bad trait to have? I'm sure that. I think that is.
It changes. Both of them would have finished now where they are on track, basically. Now, the one thing it could have done is brought Murphy maybe closer to take advantage of the penalty as well. Kwiatkowski, fair play. He's a racer. He takes it. But that's what I was saying. It's still good points to be in 2nd, so why risk it? He'll get them anyway. It effectively changes nothing in the overall order. But hey, Kwiatkowski's here to play. He's here to drive. He's here to win.
Absolutely.
And he certainly is sending that message. Dornington will sit even with this 3rd place finish, presumably in 2nd in the championship as it stands after 2 races. Hockenheim is our final. Ballesta is on our final lap, and it's 8.5 seconds his lead.
Miguel
coasted
Ballesta
across
is
the line.
officially the race winner here. Race 2, led from the start here, pole position, and absolutely smashed it to pieces. Puts himself in that picture then for the championship, but a big winner here is Christian Kwiatkowski, 2nd spot, picking up a 1st in the 1st race, and he is looking very dominant indeed. Dornington in 3rd, Murphy is in 4th once again. Then we've got Cam in 5th spot, we've got Vizo in 6th position, then we've got Razor, and then we've got TRL Manu Rodri.
With 2 non-finishers, with Man Rodri and obviously Razor as well. So a bit of an unfortunate circumstance. More so, yes, okay, it's been a day to forget for Man Rodri, but more so for Razor, as he did have that fantastic point score in the 1st race, finishing in 2nd place. Ballesta puts on a clinic on Silverstone, a track that across many titles he has been quick on, so it's not just multiple games. Silverstone seems to be his playground in many ways. Kwiatkowski comes in 2nd. A 1st and a 2nd, not bad. He'll sit well clear of the order, but it really is between Dornington and Ballesta, in my opinion. Murphy's still hanging in there, has a chance if circumstances go his way.
He would need Kwiatkowski and Dornington to be 7th and 8th. You know, it's between Miguel, Kwiatkowski, and Dornington for this title. Hands down.
And that's the question now, too, when you look at Man Rodri. What's his mentality going to be going into the 3rd race? Is he going to be someone that the other drivers, not to say that he's going to overstep the mark, but where he doesn't have as much to lose, he's going to be willing to take chances and just race, which when you have a guy who has good points and has that around him, you kind of start to think about that. Is this guy going to send it on me? Do I really want to be involved in that? It becomes a bit of a dark horse in the wrong ways, if you will.
Yeah, you know, if you watch, for instance, sports like football, in the World Cup, you see a team that smash it in the group stages, but they burn themselves out. They've gone too hard, too quick. You know, has Kwiatkowski gone too hard, too quick? We've now got Miguel here. Is he a slow burner? Has he now hit that form, you know, where he's just going to continue to grind out the result? If he gets a win next race, it becomes all sorts of interest. Kwiatkowski cannot win it. So Miguel is in a really big opportunity here for him. Really good spot.
Brilliant race from him, led start to finish. The start of this race was action-packed.
Yeah.
When we got down to the loop, it was 3 wide. Man Rodri, more so than anyone, tried to go for an undercut on corner 3. Look at how wide he is on entry.
Murphy on Kwiatkowski as well.
And it was all contact. And that's where Man Rodri thought he could take advantage of it. He gets cut off on the front side, and then it's a sandwich coming out of the corner. There's so much contact between them. And this is where Ballesta just cleared off in the distance and never looked back. Solid race throughout, but I do think Silverstone highlighted the technical skill required for this car, the finesse to drive it, the amount of oversteer that will occur in the slightest moment at high speed, and we saw a number of mistakes that were a result of that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it really sorts the men from the boys, let's say. It's a GP circuit.
This was the moment, more so than any other for Man Rodri as well.
TX3 Moses just parting the sea in front of him. Fair play to him, but this battle between Dornington and Kwiatkowski, I feel like this is a flaw in Kwiatkowski's in mindset, having to make the overtake on track. I don't know whether, to be fair, if he is battling for the championship with Dornington, it might be a message sent to him like, I can overtake you here. So if they find themselves in that position for the championship, that could be...
In terms of late race passes, Kwiatkowski now has 2 after the order has been established. So he certainly shows that he is capable of, first off, finding the weaknesses in the player in front of him, the driver in front of him, seeing where they struggle, where he has pace, and taking advantage of those mistakes, as well as just being fantastic on the brakes in both cases. So he is definitely someone you have to watch out for. We haven't seen that many late race passes that weren't a result of mistakes, so credit to him.
Yeah, he really is, you know, for the lack of a better term, and to quote Danny Ricciardo, he's licking it and sending it. It's very, very simple. And he's got the quality to do it as well. It's not like he's braking extremely late there, making the other driver drive wide. He's just producing masterful overtakes by, through Maggotts and Beckett's. He's obviously got through there on Dorneyden. He's waiting for his opportunity. He got really early on the power on the exit, waiting for Dorneyden to maybe make a mistake from defending on the curb. It's just very clever racing.
Absolutely, and he certainly forced him into a few mistakes. That said, we've got Damascus on this stage standing by, presumably with Miguel Ballesta.
On the stage, indeed, with the winner of the second race and one of the favorites today, Miguel Ballester, who had the best lap after the qualification online and who ended up having a big advantage on that race, who comes back in there. So we're going to try a bit of something, guys. As obviously you know, Miguel's English is not the best, so we're going to try a little bit of Spanish, en español. Vamos a hacer en español. Felicidades por tu victoria en Silverstone. ¿Cómo te sientes en la carrera? ¿Tú tienes el mejor tiempo en Silverstone? ¿A ti te gusta esta carrera?
Sí, la verdad que me encanta, ¿no? Bueno, también tenía el mejor tiempo, el segundo mejor tiempo en Barcelona, y la anterior carrera, la verdad que algo le pasaba a mi coche en el neumático, que no giraba, y es una pena, la verdad, porque esto deja la clasificación más que decidida. Cristian no creo que falle. Y bueno, una pena, ¿no? Bueno, respecto a la carrera de Silverstone, muy bien, ¿no? El coche iba perfecto, como siempre. Y nada, y he podido marcar la diferencia que me esperaba marcar desde el principio, ¿no? Pero bueno, una pena esta carrera. A ver si la siguiente sale bien y tengo suerte con la clasificación.
Okay, Miguel happy of his change on that second race. Obviously the first race was not the best for him. He was unhappy about the performance on the first one, but second one had the perfect conditions. Kind of felt like at home on this track that he likes so much. So let's just ask him how he feels about the next track. There's only one remaining, that's Hockenheim Ring. Miguel, la próxima carrera es Hockenheim Ring. ¿Piensas que puedes ganar en esta carrera?
Sí, bueno, cualquiera que estamos aquí podemos ganar, ¿no? Porque son todos muy buenos y la verdad que muestro un gran respeto por ellos. Y nada, esperemos que salga bien. Yo hice segundo en Hockenheim, así que estoy muy feliz por ello y espero hacer lo mejor posible.
Okay, Miguel confident. Obviously he was second online Hockenheim Ring, and he knows that everyone here is an extremely talented player. He's confident he can win, but he knows it's gonna be a challenge. So we're gonna check out the challenge after the break, as we will go on Hockenheim Ring with Miguel Ballester and the 7 other drivers. Christian is still on the lead, and we're gonna have to see which one of them will qualify to the McLaren semi-finals on the 1st of December after the break.
it take to win? Is it something you're born with? Is it the grind? Every day. Gear up. Do battle. For the 10,000th time. Or is it pushing to your absolute limits? To be faster. Always faster. Insanely precise. Totally free and at one with the game. Or maybe it's just getting to that place where nothing else matters. Nothing in the way of winning.
I'll tweet out, man.
Welcome back to Paris Games Week and the Logitech G Challenge with McLaren Shadow, which brings us to our next point. As we are at an incredible event supported by McLaren, we've got a man who at the age of 13 was the World Karting Champion. At the age of 17 just last year, won the Formula 3 Championship in the all of FIA internationally, and this year sits second in Formula 2. Next year, he is a McLaren Formula 1 driver. Lando Norris is going to join us on this stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming 2019 McLaren Formula 1 driver all the way from Mexico, straight off the plane. He was in practice yesterday. It's Lando Norris. Hello, son.
All right.
Good to see you, yeah. How was your flight?
I made it, so that's the main thing.
Yeah, no missed connections, no problems.
No.
Straight out of Mexico, obviously. FP1 yesterday, you've done a series of that. Your life's changed quite a bit. How are you adapting with all the travel I mean, you were busy before, Daytona 24-hour, Bahrain testing, Formula 2, but even more so now.
It's not been too bad, to be honest. I think since the announcement, obviously I got busier, more media requirements, but altogether it's still been pretty calm. I think when I get to next year, 2019, it's going to ramp up even more. But for now, I still have time to go home, have some rest days, play the sim, play PUBG, whatever, beat you, and yeah, have some fun. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, and that's, so I guess we'll start chronologically, but that's kind of where I want to go with this, because you do a lot of sim racing. Correct me if I'm wrong, your helmet is actually inspired by Valentino Rossi.
Yeah.
You were a MotoGP fan originally, got into karting and sim racing that kind of influenced you to where you are now.
Pretty much. Yeah, well, the first thing I did was horse riding. I hated horse riding. Then I did a quad bike. I like quad biking, but then my dad sold it. And then I got a motorbike. And when I got into motorbikes was more when I got involved and saw MotoGP, and I loved Valentino Rossi. So I was a big supporter of him, and when I first had my helmet painted in karting, it was pretty much a copy of what he had. And slowly I've changed it over time to make it more mine. But yeah, it was inspired by him, and he was my first kind of hero, and pretty much my only hero since I started.
Part of me wonders where you would go as a horseback rider. Probably for the best, different kind of horsepower now. But you have transitioned, obviously, through karting. And as you say, when you go home, you're still super active in sim. I think the last time I was at your apartment, I beat you. Me and Dom were the two quickest.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. But you obviously, look, you set a world record just like a week ago in iRacing.
Yeah.
You're familiar with Project Cars 2, the Logitech setup. How cool is it, and how important is it for the young generation in sim racing?
I think it's definitely getting more and more important because more of the young drivers are doing it. I spend a lot of my life on the sim at home, or playing PUBG or whatever. And all these little things can help a driver and helps them improve and get better. So you know, it maybe doesn't help you. You can't just drive a sim, go in a car and be perfect, but you can practice techniques, braking points, lines, race other drivers, like they're doing today, and you learn all these things which you can take into real racing, and I think it does give you a good advantage over the others.
So you think there's actually even, you know, not just, because I'll get to the point with the sim racing and the Rudy and you doing a lot of practice for next year on the sim rig in McLaren, but there's merit here on these levels, because I know Jenson Button, being the older generation last year, said, you know, he wasn't as open to it, but Verstappen obviously is big time involved, yourself. Do you think the seat time actually translates, that it can be used to hone your craft, or is it for you as much as a bit of fun as anything?
A lot of it that I do is for fun. That's probably the pure thing. That's the most I do, is because of I enjoy it and I love doing it. But at the same time, like, I'm in the McLaren sim quite a bit, and a lot of it's, you know, trying to develop next year's car or develop the current car, testing new front wing, new rear wing, bits and bobs. But at the same time, I spend days just focusing on my driving. And if like yesterday, I was in Mexico, I did FP1. Compared to Stoffel, if I was, you know, earlier on the brakes, not very good in high-speed corners, whatever, I'm able to go back to MTC, drive the sim, and try and improve that. And we have data compared to Stoffel on the simulator, where, yeah, I can just focus on trying to improve that. And I think otherwise, if we didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to. And I have to wait till the next time I'm in the car, which is in Brazil, to try and adapt. So it's a good middle ground for trying to learn and progress. For the next time when you go in the car, you have a bit more of an idea.
Do you think it's essential, obviously, preparing for next year, like you say, with that data, and having Rudy come into the team, obviously, as someone coming out of the sim world, it shows that these skills definitely translate, but has it been essential more as a development standpoint for the team for you, or for you developing your skills for 2019?
I think it's very important for both. I think probably more so for the team, because they do a lot of their development for next year's car on the sim. So Rudy has been testing, I think, quite a bit the 2019 car. So it's a big role. You know, you're coming from sim racing, but then you go into a job, and you have to, you know, be very reliable, give good feedback, because it is effectively making decisions for next year's car and whether it's going to be good or bad, kind of thing. So it is just as important, more so important for the team's sake than mine, but it obviously helps both. For my sake, it helps me, but for the team, it plays a big part in what the next year's car is.
It's long hours too, long hours. You guys, I think, run almost identical sessions, practice times in Europe as you would in Mexico or Abu Dhabi.
Japan. Yeah, it's painful sometimes.
Late nights. I've seen your Instagram posts where you're like falling asleep in the simulator. Looks fun, but an important part.
Yeah, it is. But like when you have Japan, so I did a race support. Race support is during the race weekend, like today or yesterday. A driver, Rudy or myself, is in the sim, testing Thursday, Friday, and correlating the car between the real life session and on the simulator, so they can make that progress with the car. And some of the times that you have to do is, you know, Japanese time or Mexico, and it's completely the wrong time. So you have to go into MTC midnight, and you finish at like 5 in the afternoon. So sometimes it's a bit of a killer, and it's not the nicest of things to do, but I think it's better than most jobs, so it's worth it.
It still sounds pretty good. I'm sure Rudy doesn't complain, you don't complain. It's pretty cool that you guys do that. Switch gears a little bit. Obviously, that's the high end of simulation and using proper data and driving feedback at a professional level. This is a new professional level. What's your take on esports? Because as we mentioned, PUBG, you and I have played a lot. I know you follow a lot of gaming, but what's your take on the sim world growing into the esports?
I think it's really good, and I'm hopeful that it gets much bigger, because I think it gives everyone a good opportunity to do something better, firstly, but for myself, and I think for a lot of people, racing is really fun, and you can really develop yourself as a driver, like Rudy did. He's gone from being a sim driver to driving McLaren 720 around Kota, Japan, all these different tracks, and it's it can progress into something much better. And hopefully, when everything's super realistic and it makes a huge impact, you can go from driving a sim to a real car, and hopefully that will become more often and more of a thing which happens to most drivers.
Do you think, I mean, look, GT Academy's done it in the past. They've even had a couple of their drivers go on to be champions in the Blancpain GT. They still race, I think Jan Madenborough still races in the Japan Super GT. It's happened, but do you think with esports, with these competitions, I mean, this is a full bolstered place seat that they're in. Do you think it is a good opportunity? Because racing is a tough thing to get into as a child. Certainly location can be dependent financially. Do you think sim racing is a platform that can be used for real racing? Do you think that's going to become more normal?
I think it's definitely easier to do than real racing. It's definitely easier to get into.
Right.
Like you said, financially, location-wise, maybe there's no track around you or anything, so you still have to stay in school.
Smart man.
Yeah, stay in school, guys. But obviously, the second thing is, you need to be doing it in free time, and a lot of that is after school or on the weekends. And sometimes you can't travel to these locations, so having a sim in your bedroom or in your living room or wherever, you can spend this time and progress, and hopefully that will give you a chance to then do something better, and hopefully it'll become a more viable option into real racing.
Part of me wants to think that having that access as well is part of the reason. I mean, you're part of the next generation, which I think is going to be an incredibly talented generation. You've already got Leclerc going to Ferrari. You've got Verstappen, who's young, Stroll, who's young, already in Formula One. Verstappen's already winning races. You've got yourself coming through. You're still, if I'm not mistaken, you haven't turned 19 yet. Almost.
Yeah, almost.
But it's seat time. Go back, I think the first usage of like a video game was probably Villeneuve in '97 to learn tracks, and it was literally to learn left and right. And I mentioned Button again. He was saying like, I do what I have to with the team, and it's important within the team, but it wasn't something he did. I think this seat time, do you think it's actually accelerated even some of the pro drivers now in terms of the maturity and the skill that they have?
I think so. I think because it's becoming so realistic, you have damage, you have contact, you have proper qualifying sessions. You go off track, you lose your lap, or the car slows down or something, and you can practice these things more than you can practice on a real track. And I think it's getting more and more realistic, more professional, and you're having more competitions like this, which is giving guys a chance to join an F1 team, be a professional sim driver.
Which I have to give credit. I think McLaren is the most forward-thinking team for that. I mean, Logitech's been involved. McLaren's been around more than just the Formula One esports. Obviously, last year ran a number of competitions. It's a great place to be. You're a good spokesperson for it. You think you could beat these guys?
No.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I did see you hit a wall a few times over there.
Quite a few times.
You didn't hear it from me. It may or may not have happened. We'll see if Instagram says anything about it. But listen, Lando. First off, congratulations on the drive for 2019.
Thank you.
Second off, best of luck, and thank you very much for being here. I can't wait to see you in F1 next year. You know I'm an Alonso fan. You make fun of me all the time for it. I'm going to be on your side next year, so good luck.
Cheers, man.
And thanks for being here.
See you soon.
With that said, we're going to take a little break. We've got some more racing coming up. The finals are on Hockenheim. We've got 2 races in the books, but first, we said it, McLaren's super forward thinking. They've been involved in esports. McLaren Shadow, that's what this contest is all about. That's the team these drivers are trying to find a spot on. Here's a look.
Last year I was sitting at a desk as a sales manager, and now I'm official McLaren F1 simulator test driver.
So there's 1.4 behind.
This opportunity is huge.
That's faster than the factory McLaren driver, and he's done 6 laps.
We waste no time. Luke, Actual Vision, alongside myself, Sadokist. Great to talk to Lando Norris, of all people.
Absolutely, a great insight. You know, I feel like you made a really good point about the youth in Formula One right now, and the, you know, the birth almost in the last couple of years of sim racing really hitting the pinnacle, or within the pinnacle of esports. There's no coincidence there.
No, I don't think so. I think the younger generation. I've just come back up, so I'm still settling in.
You're so sweaty.
That's for other reasons. That's because I'm next to you, you beautiful man.
It's radiant.
What did you call it? Coral
radiant?
sunset?
I'm not pregnant, sorry.
No,
I'm not
this
pregnant.
Coral sunset that's radiating on me.
Yes.
Look, I think there's something to be said for that. I think this younger generation has accelerated so quickly. Look, I did karting. It wasn't the greatest, but I did it. And in Canada, and I raced at the national level. I think that one of the things that I would have loved to have benefited from is more seat time. And you can get that. Yes, okay, like he said, you're not necessarily going to be the fastest in the real world, but if you start in karting, you have those fundamentals, you can use the sims as ways to work on braking, etc. And I think it has accelerated all of those guys so much in their progression. It is a tool. Looking at the scoreboard, here it is, a combined over 2 races. 15 points for Christian Kwiatkowski in race 1. He took the win. Race 2, he was second place. Both times he had to make moves on track for position. I say had to. He could have inherited second with the penalty to the man who currently sits in second.
Yeah, of course. So it's 7 points the gap now here. So quite a healthy gap here for Christian Kwiatkowski. No one really had him down as winning this championship, but, well, he's definitely proved us all wrong here. Dornington doing pretty well here to be in a great, solid second spot, but Miguel is the story here. He's risen from nowhere.
If I do the, okay, sorry, I did the math wrong. This is why I don't do it live. I was going to say it was 37 points. He's 27, so 7 clear. Just to move forward thinking of that, 15 points available again. That effectively means if he's anywhere within the top 4, he's got this locked up.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, these 8 drivers are the top of the top. They are the best of the best. So there's every opportunity here. There's going to be some surprises as well. You know, in Hockenheim, with that big braking zone into the hairpin, anything can go down.
That's an excellent point. This will be, of all of the corners we've had yet, the hardest braking point by far.
Yeah, for sure.
These 720s, more power than the GT3 car, less aerodynamic drag. They're going to be doing well over 300. I use kilometers. I know you're a miles guy in the UK.
Yeah, we use the correct term, yeah.
Okay, first off, if you're going to use the metric system, use the metric system. That's not the correct term.
Yeah, that's a good debate.
It is. We're like that in Canada, right? We're all metric, but then you say, how much do you weigh? And it's like, I'm 180 pounds.
I say whatever sounds the least amount, which is neither.
13 stone? I don't know what's a stone. What is that? Either way, we're getting off topic. It is going to be from 300 down to a dead sharp hairpin, which is all about smoothness. In fact, in F1, not even everyone takes the apex. They kind of keep it off. But that is going to be overtaking central in this
Yeah, but
race.
there's a problem there because obviously the track's quite wide. You can go 3 wide there quite comfortably, but they will be snaking in the braking zone there. So each car's going to take up the width of potentially 2, maybe even 3, depending on how harsh they're braking.
Yeah, that's absolutely
Trail braking's key.
And you mentioned the width. I want to mention it because this is new Hockenheim, the only Hockenheim now. The rest is a forest that's been overgrown. Point being, Sector 2, of course, just for those of you maybe
where
don't
it goes
know the
green
track.
is what we're looking at here.
Yeah, so that Sector 2 is sort of the new section. When you get to the stadium section, Sector 3, it does narrow quite a bit. And there is some camber you can use, but overtaking becomes a bit of a challenge in that last sector until sort of the last 2 corners where you can kind of maybe get the nose in on someone, but it's not easy.
I don't think it's possible around the final 2 corners. I think they're going to be using every inch of the track. This is one of my favorite tracks in racing for me to personally race on. Those final 2 corners are not overtaking spots at all, unless you can dive in at the penultimate corner. The final corner isn't, it's far too fast, but they will use every inch here. They will barely be able to stay on track here, just going through those 2 corners on their own. Side by side with someone's going to be asking for trouble, but I am very super pumped to see this unfold right in front of us. Super pumped.
Is that are we going to coin that?
Yeah.
That's the Actual Vision claim. I am super pumped.
Hashtag super pumped.
Well, if you're super pumped about anything and you're a fan of Miguel Balesta, you'll be looking forward to this qualifying. He was the class of Silverstone. He was all gold at Silverstone, you could say. Pole position and led lights to flag with a clinical drive that yielded him something like a second a lap. I think it was close to 8.9 seconds when he crossed the line for the win. Thereabout. I think he backed it to go across and do a little celebration. Either way, he was unstoppable. He is, with a shout, still in this championship, so don't rule him out and watch his pace.
Yeah, absolutely. So is he going to be the guy that, Christian Kwiatkowski is in a very good position. 7 points, like you say, he has to finish 4th or below. But with the field that they're up against, you know, one mistake's going to cost you 3, 4, 5 positions here, because no one's going to take any prisoners here. They're going to want the points themselves. A lot of these guys are going to be wanting to get a top 3 for pride. You know, in racing, there's a thing, you know, for guys who are not really watching racing, there's a thing called a podium. And, you know, if you can't win it, you want to be on that podium. You want to get 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. You go home to your family and go, oh, I got 3rd. If you say 4th, it doesn't sound the same.
No, it doesn't really.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole meme with Ricky Bobby is, oh, 2nd is the first loser,
Yeah.
2nd sucks, as we used to say at our track. There was a driver who famously, for like an entire season, finished 2nd, so he made T-shirts that said 2nd sucks.
Did he win a championship?
I don't think he did. I know
Wow.
you would think with that consistency he would, but I don't think he did. His name's Blue Van Dalen. He was actually part of my pick for
Sorry?
last race. His name's Blue Van Dalen.
That is like the most American racer name
It's
ever.
the greatest
It's better
name.
than Ricky Bobby.
MX-5 Cup driver. Anyway, back on track, literally, as we're on
again.
Hockenheim. Was going to say quite clearly, you are right, being on that podium, and there's guys like Manruderi who at the very least can salvage a little bit of pride.
Yeah,
no
of
chance
course.
he can win this championship. Unfortunately, 2 very poor races, finishing in 8th in both of them, one with a DNF and another, unfortunately, that led to a few mistakes, that being Circuit de Catalunya, our opening race. But he can still say, hey, you know what, I gave it my all, and leave with a little bit of pride still intact.
Of course, you know, we know he's got the class to do it. You see the warming up of the tyres there in the background. Because he's got the class to do it. He got pole position. To get pole position, you have to be one of the very best in any form of racing at this level. So he has got the pedigree. It's just he has to put it into practice right now. And that just seems to be where he's lacking. But, like I say, he is a multiple champion on different games as well. So I think he can really go deep into his bag of tricks and try and find something here today. He's definitely got the ability to do so.
And he showed the pace.
Yeah.
I mean, even in the last race where he had his elbows out and contact was made, he showed he's willing to go wheel to wheel. He showed he's willing to step it up, and we're going to take a look at him coming across the line. It seems he'll be the first to put in a fast time.
That's a nice time. That's a nice time. It's going to be a bit of improvement in that, that's for sure. But it's going to be that's not a bad time at all there. 41 then for Murphy. So you can see that Manu Rodri is putting a pretty competitive time right now. Well, Kwiatkowski is nearly a full second off of Manu Rodri. Manu Rodri has turned up here.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me. It does surprise me. It's I won't say even taking this long, because obviously he had pole position at Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona, our first race of 3 today, this being our final. But it surprises me more of the lack of consistency for him.
Yeah.
So to see him up there, fair play, absolutely. He's and more so than anything, a spoiler in this race, someone that everyone's going to have to watch out for. He has nothing to lose, and we talked about that strategically as we take a look at Miguel Balesta. He is so
second
smooth.
spot right now, and he knows that it is vital he finishes ahead of Dorniden and Kwiatkowski. He's currently in that position right now, and he knows that Manu Rodri is capable of a mistake in a race. So he'll be very happy with a front row right now. But, you know, all he's got to do is go out and win the race. That's his mindset right now. He knows that there's nothing else he can do but go out and win the race. If the other guys behind him make mistakes, then he can win his championship. But it is all about whether Kwiatkowski can keep the consistency he has over the first 2 races into the 3rd. But again, like I said, Miguel, all he's got to do here is just go out and win, put that pressure on.
He's very, very, very smooth, considering we are in the road-going 720S, more so under braking, trail braking, and yet not losing the rear. This man, he wouldn't break an egg if it was in the passenger seat the way he's driving right now. Meanwhile, we take a look at Razor.
Love that. That's absolutely phenomenal. I'm known for coming up with my quirky,
not bad,
explanations for situations, but that is beautiful. Razor then coming across the line. Final opportunity now. Manu Rodri is in the pits. Oh, it's 2,000ths of a second. Murphy goes onto the front row of the grid. That is absolutely nothing right now.
It gets closer and closer.
Yeah.
5 100ths the first qualifying. I think it was something similar last time, and now 2 1,000ths.
But he's spoiling the party here. He's, you know, put Miguel a bit closer down. Dorniden up to 4th. Kwiatkowski only in 5th.
It's a good point.
We are in for a barnstormer here.
Again, though, with a 7-point lead going into this race, they award points, 8 points, in fact, down to 4th place. So if he gets 8th place,
be a tie if Miguel wins.
Exactly.
Wow.
He pretty much wraps it up on the fact, well, if Miguel wins, they both
have... Dorniden, though. Do not factor out Dorniden.
Actually, I take that back. If Miguel wins it and he's 4th and they tie, I would presume, and I'll have to check the ruling on it, but 2 wins for Miguel would outweigh 1 win plus the consistency.
Yeah, of course.
So 3rd is really where he needs to be in that sweet spot.
Oh, man, this is going to be exceptional. It is set up here, ladies and gentlemen, to be an absolute cracker. Murphy so close there to being that pole position, but unfortunately not able to get it there. 0.02 of a second off. We're on the grid here then, guys, for the final race here of the Logitech Challenge Europe 2018. Who is going to come out on top here? Christian Kwiatkowski then currently on 5th position on the grid. Is he going to be able to take home the spoils here today and get to that semi-final for the McLaren Shadow 2018?
So we get it underway. No time between qualifying and the race. Hit that reset button and let your nerves calm if you're a driver. We lock on with Kwiatkowski for good reason. The pressure is certainly on, but he's got good position, good crossover in front. Clean so far as you have to watch the running wide on the opening corner. No need for a penalty this early, and rightfully so.
Defending there, but then you can see Dornington is having none of it. Dornington goes out wide here, down towards turn number 2. Another harsh braking zone here. Miguel's got to try and hold on.
And these are the two that are the biggest threat for the championship. So Kwiatkowski's sitting back going, go ahead, guys. Feel free to tangle it up.
He's kind of in control of the situation now. He knows neither of them are winning the race, so he can stay in 5th right now. He wins, flat out, no problem. But it's going to, the pressure's going to come on here.
He's got one spot. He's got Dornington. They were slow coming off of turn 3. He's actually jumped it back. Meanwhile,
Rodri is turning up the heat here. Finally, a little bit of luck. Oh, Murphy's all the way round. That is not good there. A little bit of contact. Not too sure who that was, and I'm wondering whether that was Vizo or not. But Kwiatkowski moves up into a podium spot right now, and he's doing everything he needs to do. Miguel is ahead of Kwiatkowski, but right now it would not be enough. Are they going to be able to chase down the team redline driver here of Manu Rodri, or is it all going to be in vain right now? Manu Rodri here is just trying to get, some points on the board, a big win to, be proud when he leaves this building here and say that he left it all on the table.
Meanwhile, Vizo has been certainly in the wars throughout today. He's had some moments of brilliance and some that have been rather licking oversteer that's been costing him. He's been just outside the top 3 throughout. Nonetheless, we're back on board with Razor, who was very fast in the first race and could be a problem to Dornington in the 3rd race, because despite a poor result in race 2, the speed is there, and Dornington is the one that needs the result more.
Well, yeah, Dornington is really the one that's lost out here, because he's actually behind Vizo as well. But yeah, you can see Miguel in 2nd spot, Kwiatkowski in 3rd. And the big story here is that Manu Rodri showed a lot of promise at the start, and he's now showing a hell of a lot of promise at the end of this championship. It's going to be a championship of regret, surely. Coming down towards turn number 2, then you can see that Kwiatkowski is about 2.5 seconds off of Manu Rodri. But you can see that Manu Rodri is 2.3 seconds ahead of Miguel as well. So it's between Miguel here and Kwiatkowski down in towards turn number 4.
Now, I want to say Kwiatkowski could sit tight and coast it out, but we know from the last race he's not necessarily willing to do that. Now, it is championship now we're talking about, a little bit different.
This is match point
he's
right
done
now.
the hard work. Exactly that. It is match point. Good way of putting it. And he knows this time he certainly can afford to do that. The question is, will he, and how close do people behind him start to put pressure on it and force the issue?
That's a silly question, I think, in this regard. I just think he has got the mindset of, I want to gain as many positions as possible. And also, this is a market window for these guys, because there's going to be a lot of people watching, potential sponsors and whatnot. And if he shows, the nous to go, do you know what, I'm going to go out there and make overtakes, that could also have the adverse effect as well. People going, well, we don't really want someone like that who would put, a championship at risk because of something so silly. I don't know, it's a crazy one, but we saw in the semi-final, or not the semi-final, the 2nd race, I'm sorry, that he will put it all on the line. He will try and get that extra position, that's for sure. See now, it's about 0.8 of a second between 2nd and 3rd right now. Manu Rodri is not on the quickest of laps here, and I feel like they may have caught up here. 44.2 on the previous lap, a 46 each from the standing start. But on the first official lap, 39.8, 40.0, and actually a 41 for Kwiatkowski. Wow. So, to be fair, as much as I say that Manu Rodri slowed down, he's the quickest man on track.
He's showing us exactly what we would have expected and hoped to have seen from him throughout, because no doubt about it, he is an extremely skilled driver. He's actually technically teammates with Lando Norris on Team Redline. In fact, they asked me, what else am I good for? They asked me to take a selfie of them downstairs. I thought, oh yeah, I'm the cameraman now, am I? I've been demoted. But you know what? Absolutely, they've raced each other in the past, and it just speaks to the volume of not only Manu Rodri, but the competition in this race. And the other 7 drivers here, all equally as skilled, if not more so, as we've seen in some cases today. Kwiatkowski still holding on in 3rd position, has Vizo behind him and closing in the gap ever so slightly, something he has to consider. It's one thing to sit and be comfortable in his position. It's another thing to have to defend it entirely. Think about the Formula One World Championship. Think about Rosberg being slowed down by Hamilton and how he had to hold on in 2016. Maybe not quite that same dramatic circumstances for Kevin Nieski. He's got a little bit more position he can give away and still be fine, but it is similar. He's got to watch his mirrors as much as the road in front.
In the last Project Cars Championship I did last week, we had exactly that. The leader of the race did slow down to get second position down into third, and it worked twice, but it ultimately failed at the final hurdle. Storm managed to win it, but here, Vizo's the one to watch out for here. Really finding some nice lap times here. And actually, he was in the 40.9 on the previous lap, so this lap here, he's found some serious time. We've gone on to board with his teammate of Razor. It'll be very interesting to see as they cross the line what Vizo's time would be. A 39.8 then for the leader of this race. 39.7 now, actually, sorry. A 40.7 then for, it's a second difference. Manu Rodri is tearing it up right now. Oh, hello. Razor must have had a jump start here. So he would have had a jump start and he's had to do a drive-through penalty. That is race over. Look in the background there.
That's some sideways action.
Again, an oversteer. It just seems to get loads of oversteer.
So don't be misled by our gaps. The fact that Razor went into pits kind of skews it for a second. The game kind of jumps him into that autopilot mode and then subsequently automatically puts him a lap ahead. They've corrected themselves now. So in corrected order, obviously, he's going to fall well down and to 8th position. But Balesta is still sitting comfortably and slightly closing the gap, although Constantino into the hairpin. Big mistake as he overbrakes, nearly made contact with Balesta, manages to hold the position, but again, he has to be careful not to cook this. It's really him against himself in a lot of ways right now.
Yeah, absolutely, and I like to always say you cannot beat anyone else on track until you beat yourself. You have to start beating yourself, and like it's a race within his own mindset, his own body right now.
Absolutely. The way to win in racing is to push yourself and be perfect individually, along with having some luck around it. As much as, don't get me wrong, I think racing is one of the most skillful sports in the entire world. You do need to have some luck. The only thing you can control is your own position, your own destiny, and absolutely to your point, he needs to focus on that right now.
But there you see, he got a little bit close there to Miguel in the slipstream, and maybe got on the brakes a little bit late, lost a bit of concentration. He's managed to save it though, and that is that is a sign of a potential champion, of someone who's going to move forward. That's very close there. Miguel really on the limit right now. He knows he has to push here to try and get the lead. But I tell you what, Manu Rodri though is now in the 41s there, so not a good lap from him, and actually he's lost time then to Miguel. But with only 6 laps to go here, he could afford to lose a couple of tenths a lap here and still pick up the victory and the big 15 points. So we're coming down towards turn number 2 again then. You see that Miguel is still in that second spot. Runs a little bit wide though, but will be able to get the power a little bit earlier. Not so much steering angle if you run wide. But yeah, Vizo, it's almost like he's got to a certain position and he's just now blocked. He's got into the dirty air and he just can't move forward.
I get what you're saying. Is dirty air going to be that much of an effect with the 720, do you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
100%, yeah. Kvyatniewski we've seen is a master at kind of deflecting that. But we're seeing here Vizo starting to struggle. Dirty air in Project Cars 2 is simulated very, very well indeed. So yeah, you will see it. And they're going really, especially down towards the hairpin, like you said, 300 kilometers an hour in your money. It's going to punch a big old hole in the air, and it's all sorts of turbulence happening in there. So
yeah, braking is going to be a lot harder.
Factor. Oh, Vizo, loads of oversteer there, and that says to me that he's really struggling with downforce on the front of that car.
And Kevin Nieski will love seeing this car in front get smaller. Look at our leader. Manu Rodri has in fact gotten a slowdown penalty. Now, part of me wants to give him the benefit of the doubt here. I get it. Yes, he's in the lead. What's the need? Because he has the pace. At the same time, for him right now, I don't know that he so much cares about being the lead as he does care about just destroying everyone and sending a message, perhaps. So he's going 100%. He wants the win. He wants to prove that he was, better than he's shown today with circumstances as they were. It does look a little silly when you're in the lead, but I can understand perhaps his mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. He has absolutely nothing to lose here. He cannot win this championship, but he can win the hearts of the fans, I guess, if you'd like to say it like that. But a 44.2, so he's actually tried to slow down. Didn't manage to do it enough. So
that's even more unfortunate.
Must have been a hell of a cut. Maybe multiple, to be fair. And is that the pressure now telling here? What is the slowdown penalty? We'll find out, I'm sure, when we get the timings up on screen eventually. But Kvyatniewski, doesn't need to do anything here, does he?
No, absolutely
he
not.
He just needs to stay in third position. He wins this championship, and he gets the biggest opportunity of his life.
As you say, I think the math stands that Ballesta would have to win, and he would have to be 4th or lower to change the order and to give Ballesta that win.
Dorneyden's not in the mix, you see, and Dorneyden would have been the spanner hooks. There we go, 2-second penalty then for Manu Rodri.
It is enough now that he would still retain the lead.
By 1.7 seconds, so yeah, he's okay on this respect, but he lost those 4 seconds, but going out doing hot lapping, we've seen that there's been a big effect on the tyres. People are trying to sort of get the temperatures in a certain range by slowing down for a couple of laps. Has he gone out too quick here? We saw that Miguel was unbelievable in race number 2, so he's got the pedigree and he's got the consistency to lap quickly. Will he catch up to Manu Rodri? He only needs to get 1.8 seconds, well, 1.2 seconds now actually, so he's closing that gap, and he would officially be in the lead of this race.
Don't forget, winner of this competition, a chance, or I shouldn't say a chance, will go through to the semi-finals of the McLaren Shadow project, and therefore a chance to actually be on the full McLaren esports team, working alongside guys like Rudy Van Buren and Lando Norris, both of who joined us today.
I think that Manu Rodri's struggling here. The gap is coming down. We'll see a 40.7 then for Manu Rodri. Is Miguel saving time here? A 40.4, so here we go then. He is starting to rein Manu Rodri in. I think he's been saving those tyres. I really do, and I think it's now all out assault here.
Keep in mind, for Miguel Ballesta was held up in behind Vizot, was held up in 6th place for pretty much the whole race on Barcelona. Was very clean, very mannered about it.
Yeah.
Great battle. It was the battle, arguably, I wouldn't say of the day. I think Kevin Nieski last race with Dorneyden was certainly surpassed that. But of the first race, it was the best.
I don't know, Kevin Nieski and Razor in the first race. He had to make that overtake to get the win.
Great overtake, certainly the best move of the race. But the battle went lap for lap. The point, either way, opinion-based. The point I would make is that Ballesta, that's another position he didn't get earlier. Now look at the pace he's had when he's up front. He's certainly showing, even if he doesn't win this championship, he's very smooth, he's got great racecraft, and he's mannered about it. He's not throwing his elbows out when he doesn't need to, and he's a very mature driver, it shows.
But do you think nerves may have come into it today?
I mean, certainly for everyone they did. I don't know that Ballesta per se has shown any weaknesses with the nerves. Perhaps he was too conservative. Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm not too sure. You know, you can, when you're nervous, you sometimes get your body shakes, which, believe it or not, your body genuinely is not shaking. It's all in your head.
Sure.
And it makes the input on the steering wheel a little bit harder. It feels heavier. You know, the usual nerve signs. And he didn't get he absolutely smashed it second race. And in this race, he's running at the pace now to win this race. If he can get up towards Manu Rodri.
He's in it.
Yeah,
he's under 2 seconds.
So he's got the pace here. So I think he was nervous in the first race.
It's certainly
bodes it well for future competitions, though.
Absolutely, but it's certainly a theory and something that I could see being absolutely true. I said he was in it. He's dropped off a little bit, back to 3. So the gap again with that time penalty for Manu Rodri is 2 seconds.
It's half a second now. It's crazy.
Exactly. If Ballesta's under 2 seconds, he actually, truthfully, on corrected order, will take the win, and he's back down under it again. That's going to Constantina throughout.
Manu Rodri's made a mistake here. So he lost half a second there, and it's not recovered with the Constantina effect. He's made a mistake here. So yeah, it looks like Miguel is really now starting to turn the screw. Another 0.2 of a second then, 140.758. Sorry, no, they've actually lapped the same there, haven't they? 140. No, it's a full second. Yeah, Manu Rodri's lost a full second there. Sorry. Yeah. Long day.
And absolutely, it could be tires going off. I mean, the gaps change frequently. There is different speeds, corners, as you say. Constantina comes into it, but it certainly has come down, and there's certainly been, I think, a lack of pace throughout the last, I want to say 2.5 laps, as we're on lap 8 now of 10 for Manu Rodri, and it brings Ballesta toward the win, potentially. Now, Kevin Nieski still sits in 3rd. That is enough at that point, just barely.
He's in the money shot right now. He's in the money spot, isn't he? Like, he doesn't need to do anything. He's got a nice gap then behind him.
That's where the wheel starts to feel heavy. That's like the mom's spaghetti right there.
Yeah.
Like, all you got to do, son, hold on to 3rd. That's when every muscle movement starts to be, if I make a mistake right now and throw this away, I'll never forgive myself.
Well, he's going to be able to see the guys in 4th and 5th, so he knows that he has got himself an 8-second advantage on the position that would potentially lose it for him. But he knows that Miguel then has to go get the win, although Miguel is in now within that 2 seconds. It is 1.7 seconds here, and all of a sudden Miguel's looking like he's going to pick up a second win, but Kvyat with 3 podiums is looking very strong indeed. But with these cars we've seen right at the depth of these races are very hard to handle here, and one little extra bit of power, little, you know, the nerves, like say, get a lead foot.
Yep.
a little bit too eager on a curb, it is game over.
I will say these cars seem to handle the curbs very, very well. That's one thing.
I think it's them, to be honest, because I've driven this car. I think it's them.
Fair enough.
It's
These
the
guys are
drivers
very
for
skilled.
sure.
Well, it is within the range now for Ballesta as we focus in on him coming around for the penultimate lap. It's still going to be Keviniewski's championship should he hold position, and he's got quite a gap back to this man, Vizzo, who's currently in 4th place.
Look at Kwiatkowski. I think he might have a live feed to us because he is definitely taking his time here, taking a second a lap off of his times. Doesn't need to win, doesn't need to come second, doesn't need to come third, and he can come 4th right now and he would still win this championship. So that is going to do it for him, but he's just taking that time off ever so slightly.
Nonetheless, down the order, great competition today. Qualifying shows how close these guys really are. Certainly the race pace. Oh, Vizzo again, bit of oversteer, not uncommon for these cars, but second time that he's had that going into the stadium section. But so much skill between them. It's just been really racecraft for the consistent guys. Keviniewski's been on the podium every race. Ballesta's now showing he's got it. Vizzo's been there and thereabout. This is would be his best result if he finished home to get 4th place. And is that a change for position on track? Has Manrudu gone off and actually given away the position to Ballesta?
Wow, crazy. So Miguel is now officially winning. So a big mistake here for Kwiatkowski, and it all comes undone.
For Manrudu, excuse me. Keviniewski still holds on to 3rd.
Yeah, but I mean, if
exactly, yes.
Kwiatkowski makes a mistake now, it is all going to come undone because Miguel is officially in 1st
This is
spot.
the lowest he can finish. Now, keep in mind the 2-second penalty still applies to Manrudu, which means if Keviniewski can close this gap, he is quite a ways back at this point. He can still get 2nd, but if Vizzo gets by, I think we have a tie on points, which means Ballesta would take 2 wins and probably therefore inherit the championship. We'll wait for that to be confirmed by the stewards, by the admins, as it is in esports, if we're going to adapt those terms. God forbid.
You're talking about nerves here. Kwiatkowski, he could see that Manu Rodri was winning this race. He could see that Miguel wasn't in the position to, if he did make a mistake, Miguel was never going to win the championship because he could have finished so low. Now he sees Miguel's leading this race. He really has got to be feeling the nerves.
But this is the last lap. He's got about 7 corners to go of this Hockenheim circuit. Ballesta's done everything to recover after a 6th place finish, including a massive drift. Perhaps
look at his
styling
lap
out.
time there, 41.1, and you've got all the rest of the guys in the 42s, 43s. He really has found another gear here.
Absolutely, he's done his best to recover this championship. Well off again from Manrudu. That might be another penalty, in which case that's going to be Keviniewski immediately inheriting 2nd place. You'd expect, nonetheless, it does seem his championship safe as they get into the final stadium section, the final few corners of today's very long and grueling 3-track competition. As we look back at the lap times, we'll get back shortly to the flag any second. Miguel Ballesta sure to be the one to take it.
There we go then, Miguel Ballesta coming around the final corner. We're on board with Manu Rodri right now, but Ballesta does pick up the 2nd win of this event. Manu Rodri across the line, but it's looking like before, we've got the admins to look at it and stuff like that, but Kwiatkowski is going to be our champion just down to consistency.
And I think, based on the time gap, he may actually inherit 2nd place as well, Keviniewski. So that would be...
No, it would have changed already. So
okay, fair enough. As soon as they cross the line, that's right, it would correct. So you're right, he'll stay in 3rd, but Ballesta might be the most winning driver today in terms that he's gotten 2 wins from 3, but it's consistency, and that's what wins championships.
Kwiatkowski has come out of absolutely nowhere here, and it's looking very likely that he's going to officially be our champion. Fantastic work from the Spaniard.
Murphy's showing some style as he crosses the line. Not his race per se on Hockenheim. Started unfortunately with an error in qualifying this morning. Had to start 8th place. Still made it back up to 4th in that race at Circuit de Catalunya. Another driver I think you have to give credit to today, who's shown maturity, shown consistency, and he's been in the mix when given a chance. Provisionally, we can say Keviniewski should be our victor. Now, we can't declare that. They have to go through everything. They have to do, obviously, the math within the game and then take a look at penalties, etc. But Keviniewski, if that is the case...
Didn't look like there's any incidents to us today, so...
It didn't. I'm pretty comfortable in saying it, but that means he will be now moving on to the semifinals. What an opportunity for him.
Huge opportunity for him. So I've worked, obviously I've casted events where he's been involved, the Dirt 4 World Championships where he was right at the top of the order, and now he's transferred it to another game here with Project Cars 2. How far can this guy go? I think he can go absolutely to the top.
Well, absolutely the top would be something else. Again, it's not just that you're going to be competing at some of the best esports events around the world. Shadow's obviously involved with F1 esports, but you've got a guy like Lando Norris as your teammate.
Yeah.
You've got Rudy Van Buren. Already you've got Oli Pakala's on that team. You've got Enzo Benito, another driver, Bono Huis, who won the Formula E contest in Vegas in 2016, I think it was. There's so much pedigree on that Shadow team. To beat any of their teammates is an honor in itself. So there's a lot to play for. And if he goes through to this quarterfinal, that's a huge, huge step, as you say, for a guy who you declared came out of nowhere in this event.
Just to be in the same room as Oli Pakala is an absolute privilege.
He's a cool guy.
Shout out to Oli, I love him to bits. But yeah, like I just feel like this is the perfect guy to go forward. You know, obviously in the final or the semi-final, it's going to be over multiple games. You're going to be, you know, showing how good you are, how you can adapt. This guy's doing it over the course of multiple games, and there's very minimal people doing that. The Rudy Van Burens of the world, and obviously look where he is now.
And that was something that we talked about with Rudy last year, is that, okay, it's fine to be fast over one lap, but that's not necessarily what they're looking for. It was the same with GT Academy. When you look at guys like Wolfgang Reep, who went on to win the Blancpain GT Championship, you know, Miguel Fischka, a lot of those guys, Jan Mardenborough, they all said that. They said it's fine to be fast, but when you get to that level and you're under that sort of scrutiny from professional teams, they want to see consistency, especially in the case of Rudy, who's going to get in a sim rig for McLaren. You think they want him to go in every time he's in the sim when they're in a session where he's, you know, as Lando said, practicing even some of the parts for the 2019 car?
Yeah.
They don't want him to go, yeah, go do a qualifying lap, son, it's fine. Don't worry about hitting the wall.
Course.
No, they want him to go out and do 10 laps, boom, boom, boom. We want to see the data and pull it off. And you have to be able to do that. And you're right, Kevin Nieski, he may not have won as many races as Balesta, but he showed that the consistency is there, and that is a skill in itself.
I feel that he's become a big dark horse for me. I didn't expect him to be at this level, but I feel like that looking back at the weekend, he's probably been the most focused. He's been very, very quiet. He's just been in his own self. Got involved when needed to. There's a bit of a language barrier there, but he's tried to get involved, but just seemed really focused, and it all kind of makes sense now.
Yeah, well, and it pays off tremendously for him in this competition. As we look back down to the floor, it's been an honor to be here. It's been very cool. Play seat, Logitech, those setups are sick. I kind of want to put one on the plane with me and send it home. But it's just been really, really cool to be here. They are finalizing the results, which gives us time to talk about, first off, what an incredibly close contest this was, what a great setup this is, and how big this is moving forward, and the fact that, you know, even 2 years ago, esports was already well established. Sim racing was very small within it. It's growing rapidly.
Yeah, of course. It's like as I like to call it, a niche within a niche. But companies are now taking that on, and they've realised that there's potential there. There's a potential for audience as well, and there's so much potential to tell stories.
Potential for audience has already been proven within esports, but I think it's perfect crossover for racing.
Yeah.
Kind of like what I said with Lando, you can find legitimate drivers out of this now. But you get a guy like Lando who streams on Twitch, trolls on Reddit, plays PUBG, is in Formula One, and also sim races. I mean, like, isn't that like the gold mine of being able to like interact with the fans? That's what sim racing can bring. It can bring you that level of interaction with these drivers you don't necessarily get with full racing series. Not only that, being broadcast online is brilliant, because one of the things that I always have issues with, I used to love V8 Supercars. Good luck watching that in Canada, especially live. DTM, same thing. We had Wickens racing in DTM. Shout out to Wickens, by the way. Keep the rehab going. I feel for you, man. But raced in DTM. I used to follow every single race. Do you know how hard that was? This is great.
It's a
broadcast online,
different
boom,
world.
I hop in, I can see everything.
It's like reality TV. That's why these reality stars on social media are so big, because they give you a bit of their life. So you feel like you know them. And like Kimi Räikkönen is my favourite driver, but how accessible is that guy?
You must be happy after Coda.
Of course.
To be fair,
but he's not very accessible, is he?
I was going to say that's as much, not just, you know, the sport, the nature of it. That's Kimi as well. He's very reserved, is he not?
Well, yeah, of course. But that goes for most of the drivers in this era. But we've now got these younger drivers who are opening them up more. You know, they are on Twitch. They are streaming, you know, iRacing. They're streaming Project Cars too. We've got Nicky Tim as well, obviously.
Good point. Yeah, absolutely.
He streams PUBG as well.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to have to get him in. Let's go.
So, but these guys, it's a lot more accessible now for people, and it's almost like we know them, and they're just welcoming it. And I think that goes down to Liberty Media as well in Formula 1. They've opened it up a lot more.
They have, and I think that's something that was very, very needed. I think that's we're kind of going on a bit of a tangent here and evolving, but talking about esports, especially with my background, Counter-Strike and PUBG, I think that's one of the things that esports, the reason it's grown to the level that it has, is the personality behind it. The fact that they're not scared to just say, right, I'm not wearing a tie today, let's rip off the shirts, let's loosen up, let's tell some jokes, let's have some banter, and I think that people can relate to that, and I'm glad Liberty's starting to take that approach, because I think
there's accidents, Max is like, he will go, what are you on about?
It's not even but it's not even F1 that's done it. I think a lot of traditional sports have become so PR based that it's like, I'm looking at a robot rather than an actual driver. We've got our scores, so we can get back on topic. Ignore our rants. This is
the important moment here.
And it is Kevin Niesky by a mere 3 points, which is the difference between third and fourth. He takes the championship with a win on track 1 and 2 second places. Excuse me, he did end up being in third.
Yeah.
So nonetheless, he's been on all 3 steps to the podium.
3 podiums. That is consistency is key. You know, you've got someone here, Miguel, who won 2 races, but still didn't manage to get that opportunity at the McLaren Shadow. So congratulations to the Spaniard of Christian Kwiatkowski. But by God, every single one of these has shown some real character today, or real ability. It's been great to see it.
Unbelievable. And the comeback from Miguel Ballista, that takes mental fortitude as well. So absolutely credit to him. But Kevin Niesky from the off has been incredible. And again, you talk about track position. He's made 2 of the only raw, skilled merit moves today.
Yeah.
And look, deserving of why he's the champion. Take back either of those passes. You could argue on Silverstone he was going to inherit the position anyway with the penalty. But certainly you take back the pass for the win in Barcelona, and that's right there is 15th to 12th. That drops him to 3 points, which therefore meant if he didn't make that pass, they would be tied, and Ballesta would actually take it by merit of winning 2. So that pass won him the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. You see Miguel there, his inability to pass in the first race was 6th position, and that's what's cost him.
Absolutely.
And maybe he was a bit conservative, like we were talking about, and maybe he was trying to be a little bit too fair. Didn't want to send one up the inside. Didn't want to maybe upset somebody, and it's been to his detriment.
And there is some credit to that too, and I think his racecraft was brilliant. But you're right, and Kevin Niesky showing pretty much everything you need to. Showed raw speed, definitely had qualifying pace, was always up around the top 4. Great racecraft, good consistency, and the ability to pass it. That's a package deal to me.
Yeah. Kwiatkowski, watch this space. This guy is going to be a superstar.
Well, with that, I think Damascus is going to get ready on the stage to talk to him.
We love that guy, don't we?
He's great. Damascus is great.
Beautiful man.
But nonetheless, I mean, you have to consider this is just the beginning of many steps, not only for Kevin Niesky in this journey toward McLaren Shadow, but for all of these drivers that are now getting a taste of land life, as we call it in esports, getting this exposure to play on a stage. The pressure's higher. They're all going to learn from this. Every driver here today is going to go home and learn from this.
Well, I've done many events now over the past couple of years, and you always have a surprise. You always have a surprise at these events because everyone's on the same rigs there, they've got the same equipment. You know, they haven't got that special cushion that they use at home, or, you know, they don't have that special drink holder next to you or something like that. No creature comforts.
It's something you learn, and Chinese teams are famous in League of Legends and in StarCraft. They used to actually either stay in hotels when they were home or bring snacks from China to events in Europe.
Really?
That were the same that they couldn't get because of that, exactly that. It took them a time and a period of adjustment to say, hey, you know, now in most esports we've got, and these play seats are fantastic. I mean, that's as comfortable as it's going to get. But you've got similar chairs. It is.
You're really trying to get them to send you one, aren't you? 2.
I'm not saying anything.
2.
Yeah, 2 to me, not 1 for him. But just 2 for me. But you know, there's guys, Jordan Nothing Gilbert, Cloud9, Counter-Strike, plays with a hard pad and a soft pad underneath of it to make sure his mouse pad feel is dead consistent every time, right? And that's the level these guys go to. And you're right, that is something these guys will have to adjust to. A lot of these guys might play in their underwear and their socks. Well, you can't really do that here.
I do that. That's definitely my style.
Didn't want to know. Didn't want to know. That said, it's been a lot of fun. I think it's been a fantastic. That's fine. I didn't want to touch those either. Pajamas and sweaty hands. It's been an honor. It's been a lot of fun. We've got our champion. He's on stage with Damascus.
A lot of fun indeed. Thank you, Sailokist and Actual Vision, for the amazing commentary. This guy has so much fun to listen to. But we have a new winner to crown despite the odds that were against him today. Christian, who qualified through the Madrid Games Week, will qualify to the McLaren semi-finals that will take place in the McLaren Technology Center on Saturday, December 1st. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the Logitech Challenge Europe 2018, Christian! Presenting the trophy of the champion. Congratulations, Christian. You are given the trophy by Lando, Norris himself, and you win a nice driver suit. There, you're going to be able to drive in style. massive congratulations for you, Christian. You came, I think a lot of us were not expecting to see you winning, and you played absolutely amazing. The driving was absolutely perfect. That first race was probably the big one. How did you feel at the beginning? That first race, you were behind Razor, you attacked at some point, got that first place. At this point, did you think you would win today?
Now it's so exciting. When I come here, I only come to fun with my friends, with these big drivers. And when I win first race, I believe it that I can do that. I can win, and I think that my hard point of driver is this event face to face, because I be calm, and in this race when you are so exciting, you do the best, and I do this. I want to say to dedicate this to all my friends, or my girlfriend, only one, my girlfriend, and say very thanks to the Logitech, to this event. It's so fantastic, the best that I go, and only I thanks for all.
And thanks to you, you qualified now for the McLaren semi-finals. You're gonna go to the McLaren Technology Center. You know, as a fan, as an automobile fan, it's someplace everyone wants to visit. How excited are you first to visit it, but obviously to compete in these semi-finals?
This prize, I don't believe it. Now I don't believe it. When I go here, then my dream real. No, is our driver that we don't have much money. We live with this, and we in our house we only drive with these simulators. Is our dream do this. This win, this prize is our dream, I think, and now I can believe it. That I'm so happy.
It's the dream of every driver, and you may, if you win those finals after, be basically the teammate of you're probably a fan of him, Fernando Alonso.
Yes, he's my teammate. Then I don't meet him. Then was nice.
All right, so one last word before we finish. Obviously, the top two today were two Spanish. Viva España!
Viva España!
Viva España! Congratulations to Christian for the win. You will see him in the semi-finals of the McLaren Shadow tournament to try and get a contract with the McLaren esports team. Saturday, 1st of December at the McLaren Technology Center. We are done for today on the Logitech G Challenge Europe 2018 with a winner, Christian from Spain. See you very soon in the McLaren Technology Center for the next round of the qualifications.
race, hit that reset button and let your nerves calm. If you're a drama, 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 if you're a drama,